Am I overreacting? My boyfriend said he wishes I was still fat after losing weight, and I'm so effing pissed. I, 21 female, have been dating my boyfriend Adam, 28 male, for almost 3 years now. Wee woo, excuse me? 25-year-old dating an 18-year-old. That does not pass the half plus 7 rule. That is a big red flag. I feel like some context is needed to accurately describe our situation. Let me guess, abusive? That's the only context I need. When I was 15, my older brother passed away in a car accident, and it threw me into a depression where I became very overweight. He was my best friend and meant the world to me. Losing him led me into the worst years of my life. A few months after I turned 18, I met Adam. He was one of my friend's older brother, and we hit it off. He is smart, charismatic, and I loved his sense of humor. Adam is also heavy, but he was so comfortable in his skin that it really made me admire his confidence. I couldn't stand to even look at myself in a mirror, so this last year I buckled down and lost weight. A very significant amount, and now I'm even below my high school weight. I've never been this fit in my life, and I feel so good about myself. My 21st birthday was this last Saturday, and Adam and my friends had planned a party for me. Unfortunately, Adam had a family emergency, so he wasn't going to be around for my birthday. I was completely okay with this, and reassured him that it was fine when I drove him to the airport. My friend Andrea recommended that we should instead go to a strip club, and I thought that was an amazing idea. Hey, fair enough, your idea of a good time's a strip club. Go off, I guess. I'd like to reiterate that it would have been a women's-only strip club. The next time I talked to Adam, I told him about the change in plans, and he was very adamant that he didn't want me to go. He said that it wasn't that he didn't trust me, it's that he didn't trust my friends. I ended up dropping the subject to not cause him further stress, and we ended up just having the party they originally planned. Adam arrived today, and I felt something was off. Something has been off since I lost weight. I kept badgering him until he finally opened up. We talked, and he eventually told me that we don't even look like we belong together anymore. He brought up an instance where we met at the grocery store a week ago, and a guy was asking me questions about watermelons in the fruit section. It was a casual conversation, but he referred to my boyfriend as my brother, and I quickly corrected him. The guy apologized, said that we looked similar, and then walked off. At that time, my boyfriend laughed it off, and then didn't bring it up again. He then said something that pissed me off so bad. He said, "Sometimes I wish you were still big so no one else would want you." Hell yeah, green flag that one, oh boy. I lost all sympathy and quickly corrected him. I told him even when I was a big girl, guys hit on me all the time, and just like I always do, I told them I have a boyfriend that I love. He looked dumbfounded when I said this. I told him how effed up it was that he wishes that I was back at the size where I was depressed and hated myself. He told me he misspoke and that I'm blowing things out of proportion. We argued more, and he ended up leaving to his brothers to give me space. I've been sitting here just pissing myself off about what he said. Did he really think that I was that unattractive when I was bigger? If so, then why did he date me? Did he think that I was desperate to be with someone because I was so fat? I just need some third-party advice. Am I overreacting? In the comments, J. Christian Ramirez says, "Not overreacting." And he was a 25-year-old seeking out an 18-year-old to date. Trust that when you're 25, you'll see how big a gap that is. He was probably dating someone that much younger than him because girls his age didn't want him, and he thought that you'd be easier to control. Even if this wasn't an active thought, the second you took control of your body by losing weight, he was unhappy. A good partner hypes you up when you achieve something you wanted, they don't try to cut you down. This dude is not worth the time of day. OP replies, "Well, all I know is that his previous relationship lasted 5 years, and it was a girl that he dated in college. I never really considered that he had the intention to control me, and I really hope that that isn't the case. This is the first comment he's really made that cut me down, but now that I think about it, you're right. He hasn't really hyped me up either. Not overreacting. That was a shitty thing to say. It is nice that even though his feelings weren't admirable, he was able to share them with you as long as he's stopped acting on them and being overly controlling. I'd say thanks for expressing your feelings, but this simply isn't the case. Guys not hitting on you. I'm happy and healthy at this size, and if this is going to work, then I need you to support me. Clearly, he needs to do some work on himself. And OP says, you were right, I didn't really pick my words right, and I'm glad that he was able to share how he felt. I'm going to take some time to cool off before I talk to him again. Thank you. You're 21 and feeling good about yourself. Maybe it's time to lose about 300 pounds more of dead weight and leave the guy that snatched up an 18-year-old when he was 25 because he thought no one else wanted her. Oh my god, I totally glossed over this fact. I was about to say not the asshole, but dude's clearly got insecurities about himself and might have just been trying to share that with her because she's under the impression that up until now that he doesn't. But nah, now my skin's crawling. There's layers to this pound cake beyond just the age difference, and the age difference multiplies them. I would have thought that just the premise of him being a guy, even if he is a bigger guy, being attracted to her when she was a bigger girl would say, if I'm attracted to her, that means maybe other guys would be attracted to her. Like, do you have some internalized self-hatred that it's like, no one likes me because I'm fat, therefore I have to go after someone else that is not desirable because no one else could possibly ever love that person? Is this a situation where I shouldn't attribute malice to ignorance? I don't think so. I think he's intentionally being manipulative and trying to knock her down 10 pegs. Screw this guy, you're not overreacting, OP. And now, onto the update. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone for giving me their opinions and advice. It really means a lot to me. I debated if I should post again, but I need an outlet to vent. I've been laying here in the dark, and I've been reading basically all the comments, and I think that an update is warranted. Basically, Adam and I are taking a break, and I've been crying my eyes out for the last few hours. He came home today, and we both agreed that we need to talk and get everything out in the open. He started off by apologizing for what he said, particularly the "sometimes I wish you were still big so no one else would want you" parts. I asked if he thought that I was unattractive when I was bigger, and he said no, but he doesn't understand why I'm dieting and exercising the way I am. You done goofed up, damn. Adam said that I shouldn't have to cook 2 different meals and should just eat what he does, and me going to the gym 6 times a week is obsessive. No, it's not. Push-pull legs, let's go, baby. I told him that it makes me happy bettering myself, and he said that it has completely changed me. That's the point. Adam went on to talk about how all I really care about is my looks now. He says he liked my hair how it used to be before I went to a stylist. He liked how I used to paint my own nails instead of getting them done, and how I never used to wear makeup instead of how I have some on now before I go out. Adam then said he knows that I lost weight because I was unhappy with myself, but he was always happy with me, and he doesn't understand why I have to keep trying to make myself hotter when I was already hot. We talked back and forth, but it felt like I was just doing everything wrong. Adam said that I don't ever want to do things he enjoys anymore, like play video games with him or binge watch movies, and he feels like I'm a different person. I have pushed him to go on walks with me or go to the gym in the past, but he's told me no, so I figured we just had our different hobbies. I feel bad because I see from his point that I have changed, and I may not be the girl that he fell in love with. I told him I love him, and he said he loves me too, but we need to separate for a bit and figure out if we are the best for each other. I didn't argue, I just said okay and let him pack his things and leave. He's letting me stay in the apartment until I can move my stuff out. I've been crying my eyes out and everything feels like a blur. I don't know where to go from here, and I feel like I ruined my first real relationship. In the comments, Company Euphoric says, "You didn't really mention it in your original post that you had started focusing so much on how you look besides your fitness regime, or that you had stopped enjoying the same activities, for example, gaming and movie binging. This isn't a criticism of you, but it does indeed sound like you have changed significantly from the person he knew, so perhaps separation was not a terrible idea. You were very young, and I know that it sounds cliché, but you will find someone else who you are more compatible with in the future. It hurts right now, but you just need time. Be strong." OP replies, "Well, at the time, it felt like me changing my appearance wasn't so much of an issue since he never complained about it, but I see now that I was wrong. Now replaying everything in my mind, his reactions have always been indifferent whenever I would show off my hair or nails to him. I still would play video games and watch movies with him, but it wasn't as often as it used to be. For a time, that's all we did every day. I do appreciate your input, and I know that it may sound dumb, but I'm holding out hope that we work things out. Oh, to be young and unaware. Taking a break? What the hell does that mean? Are you single or taken? Can you have a hookup or no seeing other people? Look, good luck, but you're going to get hit on and realize you were missing out on a lot of fun. I'm surprised he asked for the break. It seems he would be extremely worried that you'll meet someone new and leave him. OP says, from what he said, he wants us to take some time apart and connect again. I was also confused by what this meant for us, but he doesn't want us to see other people for now. I know most people are suggesting we split up, but I get this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach when I consider it. Welp, Adam is right about one thing. You shouldn't have to cook 2 different meals. You should only be cooking for yourself, as this is a boyfriend, not a husband. No, you didn't ruin your first real relationship. You were taking a step back from someone who is not supportive or respects you. And OP says, yes, and that's the one thing that's always bothered me. It's so hard having to eat clean and healthy when I have to cook him burgers and other deliciousness. He just never grasped that eating that would have slowed my progress and made me feel awful. First of all, you did nothing wrong. He doesn't want to change and that's okay, but he's also trying to hold you back from being who you want to be, and that's not okay. The right partner will celebrate and nourish your growth. He is not that. He was only meant to be in your life for a chapter, not the entire book. I'm on a similar journey as you. My husband jokes that I'm not the woman he married, but he supports my journey. We don't need to make 2 meals, which is silly to begin with. If he doesn't want what you're having, he can make his own meals, because he eats healthy with me, even when he would rather not. We have a lot of healthy recipes that work for our family that are pretty good and serve my calorie, protein, and fiber goals. I wanted to get into hiking, so he got into it with me. When I go on walks, he will sometimes come with me. He has a bad knee, so can't do it all the time. He supports me going to the gym, also 6 or 7 days per week, and after several years, is talking about joining up too. True partners will support you. They will find ways to compromise, i.e., after you get back from the gym, why don't we cuddle up and watch a movie together? Instead of trying to keep you at their level, they will be excited to see you grow, even if they aren't ready for the same growth yet. OP replies, honestly, hearing about how you are with your husband sounds so nice. I think I just got into the habit of accepting that Adam is the way that he is. With the food situation, I knew he was unhappy eating what I ate, and sometimes he wouldn't eat my food at all, so I would make him what he wanted to make him happy. I show love by doing things for others, and I think I did that a lot with him. I would ask him to come on walks with me or even bring up the gym, but it was never a, I'd think about it response, just always a no. I see that Adam really hasn't compromised with me on things that I want to do, but I can't help but feel bad because I was the one that changed our dynamic. I just don't want to go back to wasting hours and days in front of a screen. I hope that now that we're taking some time apart, he'll maybe compromise with me a little more. I'm not ready for our relationship to end. Someone else says, exactly how does her getting her nails professionally done instead of doing them herself affect Adam or change her as a person? Sounds like he doesn't like her going out and doing stuff that involves other people. Smells like isolation as the first step to abuse. Yeah, this guy thrives on her being miserable. Definitely so that he can control her more. You're not the girl I fell in love with. Yeah, bro, that's what happens when you date an 18-year-old. She grows up and starts finding herself. Yeah, she wasn't a saint either, but come on, man. If you don't want her to change, then buy a doll. Yeah, and I think Adam is pretty well set in his ways at this point. He will continue to go hours and days in front of a screen. He's not going to change his dynamic. And if he does change the dynamic, it'll just be a love-bombing response where he changes from maybe 3 days and then goes straight back to what he was doing before. But you see, OP, that he has the capacity to change. So you're like, maybe he means it and I just need to help him a little bit more. Please Please, update in the future and tell us that you've left his bum ass, that he is no longer a 300-pound weight on your life, and that you are thriving in a healthier dynamic in whatever that is in your life. But genuinely, you need to get rid of him. He is not good for you. He will always be toxic. As always though, thank you for the story, OP. I very much appreciate it. Am I the arsehole here for saying no to my girlfriend's tradition? I, male 30, lost my younger brother when I was 22. He had cancer and fought it very hard. Ever since, I've been donating blood on the anniversary of his death every year. I take the day off from work, visit his grave, donate blood, and then come home, relax, and watch his favorite movie. I know it's a simple, personal tradition, but it means a lot to me. My girlfriend of 9 months, Anna, female 31, asked if I could meet her and her mum. I have met her many times before, and it wasn't the meet the parents for the first time situation for lunch yesterday. I told her no and explained again about what I do on my brother's death anniversary. She got upset and said, well, it's my tradition to have lunch with my mum every time she's in town, and she really wanted to see you. You can do your stupid blood donation tradition any day. I explained to her that it's not just about the blood donation. Later in the evening, while I was resting and watching my brother's favorite movie, she texted me again, asking me to join them. I reiterated that I really didn't want to and would hang out with her mum next time. She replied that I had embarrassed her in front of her mum with my selfishness and laziness. Since then, she's been distant. Do I owe her an apology? Am I the asshole here? In the comments, Sad Flatworm says, stupid blood donation tradition? After that comment, I hope she's soon your ex-girlfriend. That is unbelievably upsetting. You haven't asked her to join you just to leave you in peace to honor your brother. Not the asshole, and I'm sorry for your loss. I'm shocked she didn't offer to go with him. That would have been my first instinct, and then I would have asked why he loved that film. Same here. Any excuse to have a blood donation buddy. My favorite ex and I gave blood together on our second date. We got to hold hands the whole time and eat free snacks. It was super cute. You owe her a breakup on the same day. This way, she'll remember her narcissistic, stupid lunch tradition day. She owes you an apology for being disrespectful of your loss and how you honor your brother. Not the asshole. She called you stupid. She sounds self-absorbed. She is not a keeper. Definitely not worth apologizing to and only worth breaking up with. 9 months, not worth your time. Agreed. We seem to have a lot of people being dicks over how people celebrate the life of the ones they love to have passed away. Yikes. So her random lunch with her mother was more important than the anniversary of your brother's death? 100% not the asshole. Your girlfriend seems to lack basic compassion and empathy. Good luck with that. She seems lovely. Sarcasm. His brother has given him a last gift in exposing his girlfriend at this early stage. OP, break up with her and be glad that you didn't waste more time on such a selfish and cruel person. Question: did Anna know about this tradition before her mother came to visit? I'm thinking the answer is yes because you said explained again, but I wanted to verify this. OP replies, yes, I have mentioned it many times before. I think she forgot about the date, so I re-explained that I can't join them for that day for that reason. Not the arsehole. She doesn't respect your tradition, which is 1 day a year. Her mom will probably come to town more than 1 time in a year. Your girlfriend is selfish and entitled. OP says, yes, she is retired and lives 3 hours away. She comes here often. Your tradition outweighs getting dinner with a visiting relative or in-law. I'm sorry for your loss. I hope you had a good day of remembering him. If I could, what's his favorite movie? And OP says, there are 2 actually, lol. The very first Despicable Me movie and Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Have you watched the new one? I see all the movies my dad would have loved to see from the franchises he loved. And OP says, not yet. I'm planning to watch it with my dad, as my mum died when we were kids and my dad raised us alone, on my brother's birthday. Plan B is having him over for a movie night on my brother's birthday if the movie will no longer be in theaters in December. I think you would need to think very carefully about this girlfriend. Losing someone you love is very hard, and she is very careless with your feelings. I'm sorry for your loss. I lost my brother when he was 12 and I was 15. I still miss him. And OP says, my condolences. I miss him a lot. There are certain video games I can't even look at or play anymore because it was our special thing. A downvoted comment says, I see plenty of room for doing lunch with your girlfriend and her mum and still commemorating your brother's death in the same day. It would have been easy to fit lunch between visiting a grave, drawing blood, and seeing a movie. You also missed a chance to invite your girlfriend to partake in your ritual, and instead seem to have just used it as an excuse to not go out with them. You're going to lose a lot more people in life before it's through. I understand that death is hard, but it's been nearly a decade. Sometimes clinging to those ancient memories only holds us back. OP says, she had never met him. He passed long before our current relationship. She never showed any interest to join, and I wasn't expecting her to join. I mean, if she wanted to, she would be more than welcome to join. I didn't exclude her. My brother's not some ancient memory. We were very close, and we only had each other growing up as my dad was working a lot. His memory isn't holding me back in any ways. Yeah, I think you managed to catch a fish that has absolutely no compassion, OP. I think you need to put that fish back in the ocean where it belongs. There's plenty of other ones out there. You'll be just fine, buddy. You don't have to hold on to this one just because you've had it for 9 months. I think this may be a catfish that has poisonous barbs that are slowly killing you. It's interesting that some partners will just see you having a very deep and emotionally, taxing experience, but something that you feel as though you need to go through as a tradition, and then be like, nah, actually you're an asshole for that, and my needs are more important than yours. I can also see certain things being like, yes, holding on to the past and someone that is dead can hold you back. We've had many examples of that on these stories. But this genuinely isn't one of those situations. You're not a girlfriend that is dating someone new and is like, actually, my dead husband would have done better than you. Let's go to my dead boyfriend's house and let him shit-talk you to your face about how you got soft hands, boy. You'll never have rough hands like my dead son. Get out of here with them pussy-ass hands, boy. That's not happening here. It's a private, healthy coping mechanism and a good way to honor the life of your brother. For her not to recognize that shows that she's pretty soulless as a person, I'm just gonna say that. Not the arsehole, OP. And now, onto the update. OP comments 1 hour after posting. I texted Anna that we needed to talk after reading the comments. I'm going to end it. I don't have her mum's number, unfortunately. OP 3 hours later when asked for an update. Sure, so far no reply. OP responds to a downvoted commenter, I'm not apologizing. I sent her a text to meet so that I can end it. Expecting to have 1 day out of a year is not too much to ask for. And now onto the proper updates. I texted her that we needed to talk. She never replied, just blocked me from everywhere. Social media, WhatsApp, etc. Her best friend who was following me on Instagram blocked me too. I'm not sad. I wanted to end it anyways. Thank you for your support, everyone. I really appreciate your kind comments. Some users suggested that my brother/remembrance tradition saved me from getting serious with her and having a lifetime of misery, and it made me smile. Thank you again. In the comments, Melodic Elderberry says, a 31-year-old ghosting her partner because he didn't want to skip a day of mourning his deceased brother for a standard lunch with his girlfriend's mum. Some people really, truly do not mature past 16. 100%, she blocked him because he didn't call begging forgiveness. He dodged a bullet. That, or because she inferred from his message that he was going to dump her, so she blocked him first. Truly pathetic behavior from her part, but what can you do? Better that this happened as fast as it did without any stupid, unnecessary confrontation, I guess. Like, do you really want her yelling in your face and saying, oh, it's good that your brother's dead. You're a piece of shit anyway. You deserve to be alone, OP. Like, no one wants to hear that. She's already shown how immature and brainless she is, so I think blocking and moving on instantly was really for the best. Do you need to get, closure from this incident? Really? I don't think so. Our next post is by user Formal Rose, titled, "My postpartum wife broke my handmade glass sculpture a year ago. Am I the asshole here for still holding resentment about it? My wife and I have been married for 3 years, and we had our first baby last year. My wife did go through a lot of hormonal emotions postpartum, and she had a lot of mood swings. A couple of months postpartum, she broke my handmade glass sculpture, which I had spent a couple of months working on as a birthday gift for my sister. My wife called my name many times as she needed help, but I was working on the engravings for the sculpture, and I was really concentrated on it. I was going to go to my wife in just a few minutes, but my wife got frustrated, and she barged into my room and threw the sculpture on the ground, and it broke. I was shocked, and my wife immediately apologized a lot, but I didn't want to stress her out too much, so I told her that it was alright and that I should have responded when she called my name. The next week, we went to the doctor, and my wife got prescribed meds for PPD. My wife's mood instantly shifted a lot after she started taking those meds. My wife did apologize constantly and felt very guilty about breaking the glass sculpture, and she even cried a few times, but I told her that it was alright and to let it go. It's been a year now, and while we are back to normal, I still hold a lot of resentment. I feel like a part of my love for my wife was gone when she broke the sculpture. I couldn't imagine anyone, let alone my wife, doing such a terrible thing. Am I the asshole here?" In the comments, Paradox Gaming says, "Talk it out now. Resentment rots a relationship. I do glassworking as a serious hobbyist, first stained glass, and then kiln-formed work like bowls and votives. My wife is kinda klutzy and has ADHD. She's handled and broken, by accident, many of my pieces, though certainly not on purpose or in anger. I take the spilt milk attitude. We're all adults, it was a mistake, nothing intentional, just dumb luck. And while she's been mortified and won't handle any of my pieces now, out of penance, I have assured her not to feel bad and let's just move on. But over time, I too have harbored a certain degree of resentment. I don't see any intention, and so I feel a loss that I can't vent. I don't have an answer for OP, but I understand frustrated loss of creative work that is frustrating, but without legitimate blame. Quotes, my wife called my name many times as she needed help. Something tells me this was not the first time this happened. Not excusing the wife's reaction, but working on a sculpture for a couple of months when their first child is a couple months old equals he started this massive and time-consuming project at exactly the time his child was born. Why did he think this was a good idea? Maybe make the present for his sister's next birthday, at a time when he isn't 50% responsible for keeping a tiny days/weeks-old human alive. I have a feeling the guys on here screaming about her entitlement haven't been the sole person caring for a days-old baby before. I didn't sleep for more than 15 consecutive minutes for 2 months because I had a jaundiced baby that took a long time to eat and a partner that had that level of devotion to the Xbox. Your hormones go wackadoo after having a baby, but with her reaction, it makes me wonder how much support she was getting. He was too busy with his pet project to attend his postpartum wife's multiple urgent pleas for assistance. Unfortunately, I have no doubt as to how much support she was getting. The way the post was written, actually, I was like, oh, what a witch. How dare she come in and destroy that sculpture? She understands how much work you put into your craft. God, she's a terrible person for that. But then, oh my God, he started it like when they just had the baby. You absolute asshole. You're neglecting your wife and child so that you can escape reality for a bit and focus on something that isn't your priorities. What a piece of shit. And then him coming to the internet for sympathy, being like, I kind of feel bad for neglecting my wife and child, but can you guys like back me up here? Am I an asshole for resenting those 2 assholes that should be my number 1 priority? Bro, you're asking for a divorce. Please, get your priorities in check. This is not healthy behavior. You are not a serious individual. And now, onto the update. So I read some of the comments and got some good suggestions. I realized I had to be honest and upfront with my wife. My wife and I just had a long talk where I finally told her about everything I was bottling up over the past year. I told my wife that I didn't blame her since she had PPD, but it was just hard not to feel resentful. Brother, people with PPD will kill their child, and you, spent so much time away from them that you couldn't even be watching her with her PPD. You have so much blame on your shoulders. I told her I understood why she was frustrated at that moment, and that I should have immediately responded when she called me, but I told her that I would have preferred if she just shouted at me, or even slapped me or something, rather than breaking that sculpture. That was just heartless and cruel. Brother needs to look in a mirror. He needs to look in a mirror so bad. My wife seemed very remorseful, and apologized a lot, and cried. She asked if there was anything that she could do to undo what she had done last year, and if there was any way that I could not have that resentment, since it really hurt her a lot. I had thought about this for the past couple of hours, and I realized there was only one way where I could completely let go of that resentment, and I told my wife that. I told my wife that I would be sewing a handmade memory quilt for my sister's birthday next year. No! You're a piece of shit! Therapy's for pussies. Handmade memory quilt is where it's at. That's what's gonna fix this relationship. Me when I'm the least delusional person in the world? This would take almost a year, and I told my wife once I do finish and give my sister the gift, that is when all my resentment would probably go away. I can't believe this guy. This is so stupid. I'm crying from how much this has messed me up. My wife seemed grateful and asked if she could help. I told her not for this gift, but maybe in the future. The truth is, I don't really feel super comfortable trusting my wife with this, given how she destroyed my previous gift. It's psychological, and I'll most likely regain the trust once I finish sewing the quilts. I haven't told my wife about the trust issue, as I think it's just a me issue, not my wife's issue. In the comments, Archipelago Girl says, "You sound toxic AF. I'm not saying that it was okay that your wife broke the sculpture, but you've already made clear that 1. She was suffering from PPD, which is a very serious medical condition which affects judgment and impulse control, and 2. You were ignoring your newly postpartum wife while she called for your help because you were prioritizing an object over her when she was at one of the most vulnerable stages of her life. Your wife had apologized profusely for what she did, but you don't seem to have done any kind of proper soul-searching about the horrible way that you treated her at that time. And now, after secretly harboring resentment for her for a year, you've told her you still don't trust her and will continue to hold her mistake over her head for another full year while you undertake some giant symbolic purging of your negative emotions towards her. So your wife gets 2 years of punishment for an action that she performed while seriously ill, and which she has apologized for. Meanwhile, you get off scot-free for your neglect and emotional manipulation. I hope your poor wife uses this year to recognize that she deserves better than an emotionally abusive spouse who holds 2-year-long grudges and can't face up to his own failures. OP holds on to resentment for a year and finally talks to his wife about it, and now he's keeping secret that he doesn't trust her either. Oh, and he's working on a year-long quilt while his child will be a toddler and his wife will still help. This can only end well. Why is he doing long-winded projects for his sister, lol? It's not entirely weird to do these things, but they just had a baby, and he's choosing to spend time sewing, ignoring his wife and child, and blaming her for being mad after he ignored her multiple times when she needed help. Seems like gaslighting to me. Should she have broken it? Of course not. But something tells me he's not really present in all of this. OP, on taking too much time away from his wife and child to make a gift, says, "No, it doesn't take much time. I only work on it that day if I'm free, and it's usually only 20 to 30 minutes, and it never goes over an hour. And it isn't about punishing my wife, I just want to reciprocate because over the past couple of years, my sister has given me really detailed handcrafted gifts. I usually never do handcrafted gifts, but it isn't right to just buy a gift off of Amazon for my sister's birthday after she spent months into making my gift. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You have a newborn child and a PPD wife. That is such a cop-out, you absolute piece of shit. Yes, it is okay to buy a gift off Amazon. Stop it with the manipulation. Stop manipulating the internet. I hate you. It's overly involved arts and crafts that got us into this mess. And it's overly involved arts and crafts that will get us out of it, god damn it. That's the only solution to this problem. This is very much a therapy problem, not a make a quilt problem, but each to their own, I guess. But his resentment will go away after he finishes the quilts, probably, to be replaced by her resentment, and it'll just go back and forth until someone finally punts it into a lawyer's office. Quote, no, it doesn't take much time. I only work on it that day if I'm free, and it's usually only 20 to 30 minutes. It never goes over an hour. When I've had this problem, or it's been the reverse with a partner, it's not usually the time spent on the activity itself. It's usually more that they feel overwhelmed, such that they're not able to engage in their own usual leisure activities, and seeing the other person have time for them pulls that trigger on the pent-up frustration. Or feeling like this other third person is getting attention when you were desperately screaming for it. I've been both a victim and offender in this one. This is a really good point. When you're overwhelmed and feel like you have no time to be a human, seeing someone else get to relax, who should be helping, can be infuriating. Outside of having a young child, a good approach to this, for general people reading the comments, no one in particular, is 1. See if you've overloaded your own calendar first. This is my fault, I take on more than I can do. 2. If 1 is true, prioritize and accept that some things won't happen. It's not someone else's responsibility to fix your lack of time boundaries. And 3, if 1 isn't true, talk to your partner about uneven free time and how at the end of the day, you both need roughly equal time to chill. It's also really easy to miss your own free time, so be open to the idea that you chill more than you realize. I doom scroll, for instance. Good partners want you to be happy too. When I've been the offender, it was the doom scrolling. It was, extremely temporarily, soothing my severe mental health symptoms, so I wasn't counting it as leisure. It felt more like trying to keep my head above water, but in reality, it was making me feel like shit and my partner feel alone. And my takeaway from all of this is, let's all have better, healthier coping mechanisms and communication with each other, and actually listen to our partners and take them seriously, instead of taking on overly taxing hobbies that will take a year and then just saying that you're the asshole and not me in this situation. That's a good starting point, I think, guys. I think we can achieve that one here. I really want the wife to come onto Reddit and give us her side of the story, and then I want her to get the hell away from him. She better call Saul. I want to see the divorce written up. I want to see her getting majority ownership of that child because he should not be anywhere near it. He is delusional to the max. I feel so bad for that kid. That kid is going to have such a troubled upbringing, and that just seems like a dumpster fire that is going to rage harder, but no one has any water to put it out because we don't know who these people are. We have no way to go and fix the situation or help them out, but hey, that's life sometimes, huh? Am I the asshole for not cooking all my parents' meals while they were visiting me? For context, I live with my fiancé in a different country than my family. I haven't seen them in over a year, so my parents, 61 female and 63 male, offered to visit me, and I was beyond happy. They had very humble beginnings in a third world country, and this was their first time making an international trip. So I tried to make sure everything was perfect and went as smooth as possible. They came and spent about a month in our house. They had their own bed, their own bathroom, and I arranged for all of their necessities. And even though we're not rich, my fiancé and I tried to provide for them with everything so they wouldn't have to spend their money here with a currency as 5 times their own. About our eating habits. My fiancé and I have different schedules, different diets, etc., so we don't eat together. Whenever one of us is hungry, we go to the kitchen and make ourselves a plate of food, as we work from home. I explained this to my parents, and I also said that the kitchen is yours. Grab whatever you want and cook whenever you want. As time went on, we noticed that my parents weren't eating much, so I asked them what they wanted from the grocery store so that I could buy it for them. They said that everything was fine, that they were indeed eating while I was working. My mom is naturally peckish, so I thought that was just how she ate. I haven't lived with my parents in over 10 years, so I wouldn't know for sure. In any case, my fiancé brought my dad to the grocery store with him and told my dad, grab whatever you want, and he only grabbed a few items. Anyways, this went on pretty much the whole month, and every time I asked, they said that it was all fine. At some point, I started asking them out for dinner every day after work, which quite literally broke the bank, but at least I could see the meeting. They left a few days ago, saying they loved their stay and that they had a blast. So to my surprise, my sister, 40 female, called me today ripping me a new asshole, saying that my parents told her that they had no food to eat, that there was no food in the fridge, and that they couldn't eat because it belonged to us, and that they had to keep making trips to the convenience store to buy food for themselves, and that they spent a lot of money. I couldn't believe my ears. I'm feeling totally blindsided by this. I thought they knew how to cook their own food, and if there was something missing, that they would have told me to buy. I took their word for it when they said that everything was fine and that they were eating. My sister says that I should have been more attentive to their needs and that I acted like I didn't give an F. So now I'm feeling bad, thinking my parents were miserable and starving the whole time, while I thought they were fine. I don't want to bring this up to my fiancé, as he will be devastated. He was genuinely trying the best he could to make my parents happy. Am I the asshole? What more could I have done? My head is spinning right now. Sorry for the long text. In the comments, did you see them go to the grocery store? OP says, thanks for reading this. Yes, the thing is, my dad smokes, so I just thought that he wanted to buy cigarettes. There's also a park nearby that my mum claimed she liked to go for walks, so I just assumed that that's what they were doing. I think you need to talk to them ASAP. Say exactly what your sister said and then ask why. Tell them you asked them many times. OP says, I tried, but nobody answers my calls. So yeah, feeling like a very shitty place to be right now. Info. So you all never had a cooked meal together at home in a month? And OP says, yes, we did have cooked meals together a few times, mostly on weekends when I had time to make something more elaborate. The biggest issue was during work days when there wasn't much time for me to cook, especially lunch. Info. This popped in my head because you say your parents are from another country. Is the food in your home drastically different? Is cookware different? The pots, pans, the oven, whatever. OP says, no, not at all. It's pretty similar, and they did know how to use my range, microwave, and I even taught them how to use the air fryer. Did you ask them if they were eating? OP says, I did ask. They would guarantee me that they ate XYZ, sandwich, eggs, pasta, and then said they cleaned the kitchen before I could see it. OP explains relationship dynamics to a downvoted commenter. I don't believe that we are from the same culture as the commenter based on some of your replies. If they weren't on the same page as me, then it's not cultural. Where I am from, family is family, and you can be yourself. There is no such thing as etiquette amongst parents and children. I mentioned I felt blindsided by my sister's call because I did feel that everything was fine and they reassured me that it was. So no. I don't know why they preferred junk food over the groceries in the fridge and pantry. Ms. Shea says, my in-laws are like this. When they come to visit, they are so out of sorts that even though we take them to the store and everything is the same, cooking in our kitchen is complicated, and they can't do it. They get sick from the air here. They are hungry but don't want to be a bother or mess with anything. The water is different and upsets their stomach, etc., etc. My husband would beat himself up and then would bend over backwards, and now they're just at a breaking point because there are cultural barriers and age-related barriers that we can't seem to get through that have only increased with age. His sisters will call us when they are here and tell us the same things. We can take them to the store to get the exact coffee they drink at home, and they will say, no, they like ours. and then call his sisters and say they're getting sick because of our coffee. This may be a challenge because they are so uncomfortable outside of their norm, whether it is outside of the country, out of their home, or their environment, that they lose the capacity to be self-sufficient. You should try to talk with them, but keep in mind they may have some barriers and walls built that they need to realize or can't realize, especially if they're older and have not left their comfort zone most of their life. OP says, "Oh my god, thank you so much for this insight. I think you're absolutely correct. My dad has the terrible habit of complaining about everything. We took them to see literally one of the 7 wonders of the world, paid for a huge Airbnb, and his first comment was, 'Oh, the clock on the wall is broken.' I feel like there's nothing that I could do that would be enough. He'll always have something bad to say. Yeah, your comment helped me make sense of this situation, so thanks again." Genuinely just a cultural and age-related barrier where these parents refuse to communicate and be sane individuals. They refuse to be human. Like, what are you doing to yourselves? And then to ignore her and not pick up her phone calls when she's trying to, get through to them and be like, "Hey, what the hell's going on here? I'ma need an explanation. Let's talk this out, huh? Why you talking shit to our sister, huh?" I don't know if OP should feel bad about it. OP did everything they could and went above and beyond to make sure the parents were fed, making sure they're watching the parents eat food, buying them takeout every night. For them to still be complaining after all of that is disgusting, and maybe they deserve to starve after all of that, actually. Maybe they should stay home and not come adventure and see the kids. If there are kids, If there are grandkids coming, like, "No, you guys acted up last time, you're not coming to see them this time, screw you." And now, onto the update. Thank you so much for all the replies. I appreciate all insights. It was kind of funny to see how invested some of you got over my family drama, so that made me feel less down. Anyways, so I got a hold of my mum, who is the most level-headed family member, and asked her what they said that my sister had such a strong reaction to. Some of you were correct. My sister did blow this out of proportion, but also, my parents, particularly my dad, have strong feelings of inadequacy, which I never knew of, but I never thought would become the focus of it. Essentially, she said my dad felt like he didn't deserve any of the things that we were doing for them, hence why he chose junk food over the quality food that we provided. My dad has some self-hatred that was present my whole life. He is very overweight, he smokes, and he's also a functional alcoholic. Me and my partner are fitness-oriented people, so we paid for a monthly gym subscription for the both of them so we could all go together. They both said they wanted it, but my dad went a few times only. I did notice he was smoking a lot more than I remember, and he was also buying beers every week. But I guess it was his way of coping with whatever feelings that were triggered by his first international trip. Apparently, he never thought he would go anywhere. So it wasn't about the food. It was about my dad and his extreme inferiority complex that stopped him from enjoying his time and connecting with me, my partner, in my house, and my new reality. My mum did apologize on behalf of my sister, said she planned on talking to me, and regretted that she didn't, because of how my sister brought this issue to me. I don't know how to digest all of this, but yeah, I guess I have some therapy sessions ahead of me. Anyway, thanks for reading. In the comments, Education Tangelo 6 says, "I had a parent like this. We are now no contact for different reasons, but she's a disability pensioner, and whenever she came to stay, it always became an issue because I happily paid for everything and tried to get her to put food in the trolley so that she could eat. She has many GI issues, but she refused. Then she would go home and moan to other family members about me feeding her things that I couldn't eat and taking her places that were too expensive, even though I was paying. It was just exhausting. I'm glad OP has a mother she could communicate with. Hopefully they can organize another trip in the future, which will go better because everything is out in the open now. And sis needs to shut her mouth and take a seat, that meddling nitwit. My husband's grandma was a drama queen in this regard too. The family was providing everything she asked for and everything she could need, even though she didn't ask for it. She was really well taken care of, but constantly complained to people that she was mistreated. Her signature move was going shopping during the worst weather possible. She wasn't going out most of the time, but when the weather hit stay home at all cost level, she always went shopping. Inevitably, people were shocked that someone elderly is out in this type of weather, they were helping her, and she was telling a sob story about being abused by her relatives, and she truly wasn't. She was just manipulative and feeding on people feeling sorry for her. She died because she was hiding her symptoms because she was certain that someone was poisoning her and she didn't want the person poisoning her to know that it was working. Least schizophrenic grandma. My enemies will not know the poison is working. My question is, how do you know this? She told her doctor when she was hospitalized, but it was too late. Karma is a nice little fairy sometimes. That's not karma, that's the impact of persistent, untreated mental illness, both the lying for attention and the dying of paranoid idiocy. Once again, I'm super thankful for my totally boring family. OP's parents sound exhausting, right? Hubby and I were both raised in families where you just talk to each other. I'm not saying our families of origin were perfect or drama-free, but holy shit. I read posts like this and think to myself, am I really that blessed that I not only love my family and in-laws, but actually like them as well? If only we were so lucky. Yes, yes, yes. You so super are. I've got a framed portrait of my parents that was taken not long after they married. It's now shoved behind some stuff on a shelf so I don't have to look at their faces. Even the talking parts never did any good. My mother never believed anything I said, even simple stuff like, I can't find this particular book that I want to read in the house, so I'm going to go to the library and find it there. Clearly, that was a lie for something nefarious and degenerate. No bookworm ever wants to go to the library for a book. It's true. You are going to go do drugs and steal from people and steal from shopping centers. Mother, I require a book. Shut up, rapscallion. I know your true intentions. You are going to go practice thievery within the town square. I have good word you will be caught and shipped off to Australia like the rap scoundrel you are. Most sane mother to exist. But yeah, back to the OP. Quite a tough situation, that one. And, it's good that the truth finally comes out about the father's inferiority complex. But damn, the drinking, the junk food eating, the aversion to really just anything to do with you, it seems like. That's a tough one. And at this point, he's so old that he may just be taking that to an early grave. To me, this is definitely one of those situations where, get some therapy, process what you can now, and then try and, build whatever bridge you can with that father, if you want to, before he does die. I don't want to be having any regrets, not even one letter, when they're on their deathbed, and when I'm on my deathbed. I want to be able to enjoy life with them as much as possible until such time. I hope everything goes well for you in the future, OP. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Our next post is by a throwaway account, titled, Am I wrong for not telling my ex about my miscarriage? So my ex-boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 22 female, were dating for about 3 years until I found out that I was pregnant. That's when he decided that things are moving too fast, I don't want this anymore. To make a long story short, he wound up kicking me out of our apartment. I moved in with my mum and I blocked him on everything, and I started contemplating abortion. I was just thinking to myself, why bring a child into a broken home, Why would I want my firstborn to have a father that never wanted them? But when it came down to going through with it, I just couldn't. I don't know why. I can't explain the feeling I had, but I decided to keep it. This all happened in May. However, on June 11th, I miscarried. I don't want to get into the details of the miscarriage, but I had an ectopic pregnancy. When this happened, I did consider calling my ex to let him know, but I was afraid of the response because I knew that it would be along the lines of, bullet well dodged, so I just didn't. My thought process was, he didn't want it anyway, so why would he care? I stayed with my goddess of a mum, and she helped me through everything because she's had miscarriages as well and knew everything that I was feeling. I love her. Fast forward to 2 days ago, I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't pick it up, but it called 2 more times and then stopped. I didn't think that it was him, but I never pick up unknown calls. Last night, the number texted me, "Hey, it's ex-boyfriend. Can we talk?" I didn't text back, and this morning he showed up at my mum's home when I wasn't there. I texted him back and said, "Yeah, we can talk, but don't just show up at my mum's house. Call or text before you do." We set up a meeting, and when I came, he had a gift bag. This is the convo summed up. He says, "Wow, you look great. You won't even look pregnant." And I said, "I'm not anymore." "What the hell do you mean? Did you get an abortion without telling?" "Nope, I miscarried." "And you didn't think to tell me?" "No. Why would you care?" "Because this is my effing kid too." "Well, you didn't want it." "I do. That's why I came to see you, but whatever, F you." He then left me with a gift bag, and it was baby stuff. I felt really bad. I'm assuming he told his mother because she's called me, going off about how bad of a person I have to be from hiding this from him. And she also insinuated that I'm lying about aborting it. Rub salt in the wound. I'm hesitant to tell my mum because Lord knows she'll fight that old lady for talking to me crazy, and I don't want any extra drama, but I do feel bad because having a baby is a big deal, and not everyone's ready for it at first, so my thoughts are everywhere all at once. So does anyone here have any opinions? Am I wrong? Or was I valid in how I felt? In the comments, JemmyGem86 says, "Tell your mum since she's the one who cares about you, and block the others." Yes, OP, please tell your mum before the ex's hag of a mother starts spreading lies and spewing hate, because it's gonna happen. Who cares? Let your mum go ham on her. And screw your ex. I bet he's only back because he got pressured from his family. He was trying to get in front of the narrative before he was possibly sued for child support, or his family found out through the channels about the baby. OP says, "Surprisingly though, I never had an issue with his mum until now. To me, she was very polite, so I don't know if she's the type to spread rumors, but I'll definitely be telling my mum. Thank you." He kicked his pregnant girlfriend out and ended the relationship. You later had a miscarriage. I suppose he would have found out regardless when the 9 months were up and he expected to see a child and there wasn't one. I don't think you're wrong for not telling him. Based on your story alone, a lot more obviously happened behind the scenes, and I can't blame you for wanting him out of your life. I think you should tell your mum. Better you than second-hand or another surprise visit to the door. I'm sorry you went through this. Block him, his mum, and anyone else that is causing you issues, and try to move on with the support of your mum. Tell your mum, you deserve to be supported. He didn't want the kid, his mum did. He let it slip, and she probably went gaga over the whole thing. He's mad because he thinks you took control of your situation and liberated yourself. I know that's not the case, but he's obviously upset at the idea of your autonomy. You do not have to justify or prove anything to this stupid woman. You went through something that is really complicated for a bunch of reasons. It takes time to get around it, even if a kid wasn't desired or ideal exactly. I've been there. I never told the person I was pregnant because I found out when I was already miscarrying. I dealt with it my way. If anyone had said something like this shit to me, I would have absolutely put them in their place. Strongly consider going no contact with this man and his whole gaggle of stupid. I hope you have a fantastic life. Back up to the post, there is an edit. Thank you to everyone for giving me their condolences. It means a lot to know that I'm valid in how I feel. I will be telling my mum, as many of you said, and I will donate the baby items. I appreciate everyone trying to help, but please stop commenting by saying, "Be glad the baby is in heaven and you're not tied to them," or anything else. It's really insensitive, especially since my fertility as a whole is at risk with what happened. I don't know if I'll update, but I might if anything else happens. Yeah, you're not wrong at all for not telling him about the miscarriage. Again, he straight up coldly kicked you out and then blocked you on everything and just completely ditched you there. He's a complete piece of shit for that and doesn't deserve any sympathy. I bet he hid it from his mum until the guilt was too overwhelming and he's like, yeah, actually, I got my ex-girlfriend pregnant a while ago and I don't know what to do about it now. I'm not ready to be a father. What do I do, mum? Just absolutely soulless behavior, and then to blame you for having the miscarriage there and the fact that you didn't tell him? If he didn't care before, why should he care now? That's completely up to you, and I know people will disagree with me on that one. But I feel like if he was so comfortable in his little cave of not knowing anything about the baby for so long and being so happy to kick her out, he didn't deserve to know either way. He should have just kept that same energy, but no, he didn't. And now, onto the update. Thank you so much to everyone who gave advice, good or bad. It helped me balance how I was feeling, and it meant a lot. I also took almost all of the advice I received. Starting with my mum. I told her about the phone call I received from my ex's mum, who, for the sake of confusion, I'll just call Sarah, and I showed her the post. I did ask my mum to not say anything back, but in her words, it's best to not bow down to people like Sarah. When you let them get away with talking crazy once, they're gonna do it again. I really didn't want to talk to Sarah or my ex, so I just let my mum do it. I know it's childish to have my mum fight my battles, but I can't take any more stress right now. My mum understood and texted Sarah. This is the message. Sorry if it's hard to read, I had to try and take out or change the names. Hi Sarah, this is OP's mum. I was just made aware that you made a call to my daughter, called her a liar, and accused her of secretly getting an abortion. First, I want to say that this situation is none of your business, and as a mother, you should know better than to slander a woman who has just lost her child. You of all people should be the last person calling others evil, considering the son you have raised. Were you aware when OP found out she was pregnant, your son decided 3 years was too soon for commitment and told her to leave their apartment? Or do you just not care? We don't owe you an explanation about OP's pregnancy, but I will give you that courtesy and send those hospital reports. But once I do, if you continue to disrespect us, my son and I will be seeing you and yours, I can promise you that. I thought this message would be the end of it because hours went by without any word. They can't reach me because I blocked them, but my mum was waiting for a reply back. Until again, my ex showed up unannounced with his mum this time, which really pissed my mum off. Rightfully so. Sarah said they just wanted to have an adult conversation, but my mum told them to leave and come back later because we were busy. This was a lie. She just wanted to wait until my brother got home just in case. When they came back, Sarah surprisingly made my ex apologize. She was apparently told a different story. Who's surprised? Is anyone surprised? She was told that when we found out that I was pregnant, that my ex was actually really excited and I was the one who didn't want a child. When he told me that abortion was out of the question, I flipped out, left the apartment, and blocked him on everything. Then I contacted him months afterwards asking to meet. He thought I had a change of heart, which was why he bought the baby clothes in order to celebrate. The emphasis on abortion in his story is why Sarah believed that I lied about the miscarriage. I couldn't help but chuckle at this because what a liar that man is. This must have triggered something in Sarah because she started back up saying things like, "But I still feel as though you owe my son an apology because you still pretended like you were pregnant knowing it died. You could have at least told him, but no, you led him on." I had to put the caps on died because she did have a condescending tone in her voice and she put so much emphasis on that word that it pissed me off, but I didn't say anything. I just went to my room. I don't know what happened afterwards. I heard everyone yelling at each other, but I just tried to drown it out, and I can't lie, I just cried until I slept. Sorry to the people who wanted to read about a big rumble, but this is where we are right now. I wish the rumble happened too. She really needs the dentures knocked out of her mouth, but I just wanted to move on now. There is no reasoning with those people. Ending on a good note, I found a women's shelter to donate those baby items to, and I'm probably going to look for a therapist. Again, thank you to everyone who gave me tips on coping or advice on what to do. I didn't expect anything more than 10 people to see this, so thanks to everyone who validated how I felt. It's great to know that you were not the insane one. In the comments, Oddly Appeased says, "How the hell did she come to the conclusion that you still pretended you were pregnant? You agreed to meet him and only told him that you weren't after him commenting that you didn't look pregnant. You're better off just leaving this behind you. You've got a great support system in your mum and brother. Focus on healing so this can become a distant memory." OP says, I think she was trying to be funny about it or intentionally get a rise out of me, but you're 100% right, thank you. Yes to a good therapist to help you move forward in the most healthy way. Best wishes to you. Thanks for the update. Well, that escalated quickly. I'm glad you just walked away from Sarah the shithead and little rat boy when she said you needed to apologize for leading him on. It sucks that your mum and your brother kept trying to argue with Sarah the shithead. The correct response from your mum would have been, Ma'am, I don't appreciate you showing up uninvited, but I'm glad we had this conversation. Now, frankly, you're wearing out my patience. You need to leave, as you're starting to bother me. Please get off my front walk and go stand in the street, because that's public property. You can stay there all night if you want, but I wouldn't. You never know who might show up at this time of night. Goodbye, and don't make me ask again. Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry you've been going through all of this, but I'm glad that you told your mom and she made Sarah aware of what a scumbag lying son she has. Your mom is awesome. Take your time grieving the loss of your baby. Therapy is a good idea. Try to find a therapist who specializes in helping parents who have lost their baby or child. I wish you the very best, and wish for you, down the road, to find a man who deserves you and treats you amazingly as you should be. The mental gymnastics of these people, my goodness. In my 20 years in social services, I've seen mummies defend their precious baby boys against the most disgusting behavior. I don't see it with dads, and I don't see either defending daughters. It's specifically mums and their sons. It drives me nuts. I lost it one day in a meeting when a mum kept calling the violent abuse a misstep. I said, when he pinned her down on the floor, held her hip and knee still, and knelt on her femur until it was broke, that was a misstep? Now I make sure every person in the meeting knows specifics about the allegations, but mums seem to want to believe their sons are perfect. My mother-in-law refuses to admit that my husband has ever done anything wrong, even the most minor stuff, or when he admits to having stuffed up in front of witnesses. She either ignores it or tries to blame me. If it wasn't for the OP's mother and their good relationship, OP would have been homeless. That's not good guy behavior. 4 years from being 30, and he's behaving like a teenager who doesn't understand consequences. Emotionally stunted piece of shit. I hope this relationship opens OP's eyes to be more selective with future partners. Emotionally stunted piece of shit who was raised by Sarah. Yep, values come from parents. OP has her whole life ahead of her, and I'm glad she got to see their colors. Am I the asshole for walking our dog while my wife was getting ready for dinner? It feels ridiculous to ask about this, but I'm starting to think that I'm missing a key bit of information here. I guess I'm asking that if I am, then why? Because it wasn't my intention, and I certainly would like to prevent it from happening again. This Friday, my wife and I had reservations at her favorite restaurant because her birthday is right around the corner. We have a party planned, but this was supposed to be our night together alone. The way the reservation was set up, I would come home from work, change, and immediately drive there, as it's around an hour and a half by car. Yes, we live in hick country. Yes, I am a hick, and no, we aren't moving that I've been made aware of. The day had gone great so far, and from what I knew, everything was going according to plan. I got home and she's behind schedule getting ready. This is not something that happens for her ever, and I was surprised, but the reason wasn't her fault, and it was barely a 20-minute deviation. However, I was just waiting by the door during that time, and the dog decided that he needed out. So I took him for a walk around our yard. It took maybe 5 minutes, and I cleaned everything up and had him put up before my wife was ready. We made it to the dinner reservation by the skin of our teeth, and that was that. We had a great date, and I would have never known that she was upset with me until the next morning, when she said that she had never known me to be so patient, which confused me. And she rolled her eyes and said that she noticed that I took the dog for a walk before we left to make her hurry, and that she didn't want to let my bad mood ruin the night. I had been in a great mood, and I told her so, but she refused to believe it and got pretty angry with me, which I haven't been able to calm her down from to even talk about all of this again. I really don't understand what I've done wrong here, and I don't know what to do. Am I the asshole? In the comments, not the asshole. It sounds like she may really be annoyed about something else. Try talking again to see if you can get under the real issue. Did something happen at work, or did she have another expectation that was not met? And OP says, not that she talked about. The day went pretty well from what I know, but I'll definitely try to talk to her about her job. She hasn't had any trouble from this lot yet that I know of, but it is a newer job, and there may be things that I don't know. Thank you. I probably wouldn't have ever connected that it could be related to work. Not the arsehole. Can you lay it out clearly for your wife that you don't understand what went wrong? Hell, maybe just show her this post. I'm assuming the anger is out of character for her, so a conversation is a good idea. And OP says, yeah, neither of us are angry people. That's the biggest reason that I posted this. She's been pretty annoyed with me before, but this is different. Yeah, that is very odd then. There might be some other stuff brewing under the surface, or she was just really tired that day. OP says, someone mentioned work stuff and I'm gonna ask about that. She did start a new job not too long ago, and even though she hasn't said anything to me yet, it's new enough that I wouldn't know yet. I am not seeing anything that you did wrong here. Do you know why she was 20 minutes late getting dressed? Maybe the reason she was late getting ready is tied to what made her get upset. Taking the dog out was not wrong. It isn't like you walked around the block, you stayed in your own yard. And OP says, yeah, she's gotten ready at our neighbor and her friend's house up a small hill, and walked back over but took a tumble on the way. She wasn't hurt at all, but she had to change her dress and fix her hair. Not the first time she's fallen like that, and I worry about it, but she says that it isn't a big deal. My dad used to do this action every time we went out. This is his silent way of telling us, hurry up and don't make me wait. Maybe someone did this to your wife in the past, so she got irritated when you did it. And OP says, huh, yeah. She's never said anything about that, but I can see how that would have pissed her off in that case. Thank you so much for the advice, and I should edit that thanks into the post. Less than 20 comments, and almost every one of them had brought up something that I didn't think of. Not the arsehole. Maybe she has an undiagnosed UTI, or she's unaware that she is pregnant and hormonal if this is not normal. Then those are the first two medical conditions. After that, she has built up resentment over something, or this is a trigger from her childhood. OP says, UTI? Those are pretty dangerous. I think that's what put my mum in the hospital last time. Do you think that's really a possibility? So I'm going to go here that she has undiagnosed trauma from her childhood, possibly a brain tumor that explain why she tripped over and does that sometimes. Hillbilly syndrome is definitely one of them as well. It's also possible that she may have a UTI and pregnancy at the same time. I'm just kidding. That was sarcasm. That was sarcasm. From what you've described, if you're a reliable narrator, OP, I don't think you're the asshole for walking a dog while she was getting ready. I think she needs to learn to communicate better here and be like, I'm upset because you took the dog for a walk. Would you like to explain what you were doing and what your intentions were so that we can clear the air? Instead of asking that last bit, she just says, I'm pissed off at you for rushing me. This seems out of the blue for her. That's very uncharacteristic. She seems to be the one with the problem here. And now, onto the updates. Hello. I feel weird updating, but I have good news, and I want to share somewhere, and here seems as good a place as any right now. And actually, I wanted to thank everyone for commenting, and the people who reached out privately with advice. You really helped me calm down and figure out how to approach talking about this while seeing where my wife could have been coming from. One person even called exactly what was going on, something I dismissed right away, stupidly. So I came home the next day and brought home pizza from her favorite spot in town, which we never get because of crowds, because I figured even if I wasn't outright wrong, there was no reason not to make the conversation nice. So after dinner, I asked about the dog again, and after a lot of back and forth and crying that I'll skip explaining, she explained that for the past week or so, she had been feeling weirdly emotional. And she couldn't explain it. Some people had mentioned some things here about different health stuff that could cause those sorts of symptoms, and I got pretty nervous and got her into the doctor's office within a couple of days. Well, imagine our embarrassment walking out 5 minutes after getting in and doing a test that we could have done at home for like $20 without including insurance companies. She's going to talk to her therapist about meeting every week for a while she adjusts and deals with hormonal changes. We've been laughing about it now because it never crossed our minds that she could have been pregnant. Someone commented it, but I still didn't believe it because I am dumb. Never mind that we are both in our 20s, or that she switched birth control like 2 months ago, and we may or may not have had unprotected sex during the switch week. Anyway, as stupid as we may be, we are still excited, but waiting until the 12-week mark to tell our families. However, I've been itching to tell someone and just can't wait any longer. So here is an update. Wife approved because it's anonymous. Thanks again for the help. I appreciate it a lot, even if I didn't take the advice of the person who was right. In the comments, Lingonberry Pryor says, "Congratulations, and word of advice, take the baby in an ergo when you walk the dog, so that the wife can have a break. Top-notch advice. Take initiative to grab the tot and insist that she shower or sleep while you watch the kids. Good luck, man, congrats. I love this. In theory. Please pay attention to your wife during this time. Some new mums are really attached to their babies, and taking the baby out of the house while mum showers might cause severe anxiety. Just pay attention. You've already seen that hormones can do funny things. This goes for pregnancy too. Do not expect mum to be completely rational. Just buy the damn pickles at 2 in the morning. It's hard work to grow a human. Congrats, and maybe still have that talk with your neighbor about the path to make sure that she stays safe. OP says, already working on it. The neighbor isn't against the idea, just against paying for it. Which is no problem for me since I'm the one complaining. Pregnancy hormones are straight up evil, especially before you know you're pregnant. I thought I was losing my mind until the morning sickness started, and then the penny dropped. Wait until menopause. Waking up in a murderous rage and your left earlobe really hurts for no apparent reason. I'm in perimenopause, and some days I have the emotional regulation of a toddler where only chicken nuggets, tacos, and mojitos will do. Thankfully, the murderous rage is only 2 to 3 days a month, and it's mostly being sad for me, which is helped by making myself into a blanket burrito. I have a daughter that is definitely starting the hormonal part of puberty, so send thoughts and prayers to my husband and son. I really liked the fact that he came home, unprompted, with her favorite food. Not gonna lie, food makes me fold so fast, or at least be willing to hear you out. Him wanting to make the conversation nice no matter what the outcome is just so good. A partner wanting to actively make your life better is perfect. I was pretty certain she was pregnant, so I was half expecting that she would reject the meal and drop another clue. OP is obviously in a great marriage. They prioritize each other and they communicate well. This whole post is so wholesome. I love that clear, transparent communication won the day. Isn't that so amazing, guys? Can we 3 cheers for these guys, huh? Thank you for this story, OP. That was very much wholesome, and congratulations on the baby. Hopefully there's no update in the future that's like, she lied about the baby. She was just testing me. She got a fake pregnancy test, she took us to a fake doctor, and now my mother-in-law's on my case. What do I do? I would love that. I need to start writing these posts. Our next post is by user ZNXNCB, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my fiancé I don't want my Temu engagement ring? My 27 female, fiancé 29 male, proposed to me a few weeks ago. It caught me completely by surprise, but we've been together for 3 years, and things have been going great. So I was really excited and said yes. I really liked the ring when I first saw it, and my friends and family all think that it's stunning. It's an oval cut with diamonds across the band. I asked where he got it, and he wouldn't tell me where, but that he got a great deal on it. I didn't think anything of it until yesterday when we were in bed, and I asked him if it was diamond or moissanite, mainly out of curiosity. I don't have a preference, by the way. He said he didn't know and would have to look it up. When I glanced over at his phone, he was in the Temu app. I asked him if he got it from there, and he didn't respond. Oh no, you goofed up, fiancé. So I asked again, and he responded with something like, "Does it matter?" and left the room and ended up sleeping on the couch. He's right, it's the thought that counts, OP. I spent all night so confused. Today, I decided to download the app and look up my ring and found one that looks identical. I found the exact ring and it listed at $38. I am mad. He makes good money, $200,000 per year, and I feel like he could have shelled out some money for a ring better than one on Temu. Am I the asshole for telling him that I don't want it? In the comments, Apart Scene asks, Info. Do you care that the diamonds are not real, or are you simply mad about the ring's price? OP says, okay, I'm not mad that the diamonds are not real, but I worry about the quality of the ring, because I imagined my engagement ring to at least be sturdy. It's fine for now, but I do have a hard time believing that it will last longer than a year if it's $38 on Temu. Don't wear jewelry from Temu. There's no way to know what alloys they're made out of, and if there's lead or other heavy metals. I had some cheap costume jewelry from Temu, and I learned that the hard way. You don't need a platinum ring or anything, but, you should at least be wearing something that's certified that it's made of what they said it's made of. Not the asshole, because that thing might turn your finger green. He's lucky you don't have a sensitivity to fake metals like some do. He makes good money, but bought a $38 ring? Is he cheap with other things, where this discount shopping isn't a new thing for him, and he's just an all-round penny pincher? My first thought was, did he not spend the money because he doesn't want or expect this to last? OP says, yeah, let me provide some more context. Really, he's never been overly frugal. I'm probably more frugal than he is. Neither of us are huge spenders, but we each make enough not to have to strictly budget or anything. We have our own accounts, and we split rent equally. I know he has at least $100K across his savings and investment accounts. We go out for dinner a few times a week, and we'll go to concerts together and whatnot frequently. We travel a few times a year, and stay in basic accommodations. Ugh. Like our DoorDash the other night was $40. My ring costs less than a DoorDashing dinner. You're not the asshole, but what we all really want to know is whether or not you would still marry him if he replaces the ring. OP says, the responses to this have made me even more confused. People saying that it could be a loyalty test, that he doesn't want me to be able to sell it if we divorce, or that he doesn't plan to be with me for long. I have a pit in my stomach. I haven't considered breaking things off, but that was before I wrote this here. I was thinking maybe he was just not thinking, or rushed getting the ring, or maybe he genuinely thought that he was getting a great deal on a high-quality ring. I'm not sure at this point. I plan to confront him when he gets back from work in a couple of hours. I'm interested in something. How much money does he spend on things that he buys just for himself? OP says, besides the money we both spend traveling occasionally, and on entertainment, drinks, etc., he doesn't buy too much for himself. I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility that he just thought he was getting a good deal or something on the ring, but I really don't know. I wouldn't say he's a huge spender, but he has no problem dropping $50 to $100 on dinner and drinks. I know people are going to disagree, but I feel like a ring less than the cost of dinner feels disrespectful to our relationship. How did the topic of marriage come about? Is it something he also wanted and brought up himself, or was it a requirement of yours that he felt he had to fulfill? OP says, it's been a casual mutual discussion for about a year. It's something we both wanted to do eventually, but no timeline on it. He moved in with me not too long ago, and it's felt like a natural progression to me. To be honest, I wasn't expecting him to propose so soon, but I was pleasantly surprised by it. His little brother just got married in July, and so his family were making comments about when our turn was. Maybe there's some pressure there? You are only worth $38 to him. Normally, I think girls that complain about the cost of their engagement ring are very shallow. The ring doesn't have to be $30,000, or $1,000, or even $500, but there has to be a reasonable cost to get a decent metal that doesn't rust. A $38 ring from Temu is only meant as temporary costume jewelry, and not a long-term treasured ring. On the ring itself, the response to this is just absolutely insane. Sorry I'm having a hard time keeping up with the responses. A few of y'all want to see the ring, so here it is if you want to look it up. I'm still waiting for him to get home. The seller is LVZ Gem. 1 carat moissanite ring women's wedding band, suitable for banquet party, official occasion, holiday, Valentine's Day, proposal, engagement, wedding gift, anniversary gift, birthday gift with certificate. I guess it is technically moissanite? 1 carat moissanite. That's so bad. Suitable for wedding gift as well. Hey, here's your wedding gift, a 1 carat moissanite ring. Oh, sick, bro. Thanks for the wedding gift. That was so cool. Don't attribute malice to what could be stupidity. But when I think of it a bit more, maybe he was stupidly trying to manipulate you. Who knows? But it's hard to be like, wow, you were just such an idiot for that one, because it's like, well, I bought a stupid ring, but I didn't expect you to know where it was from. That would make it that you were intentionally trying to hide information, knowing that what you did was wrong. Or it's about the gesture that counts. It doesn't matter what ring you get. I just wanted to get you a ring because I was feeling the vibes at that moment. I'm talking to OP's fiance here. It's hard when you make a salary like that and then compare yourself to every other couple out there. You give him a $38 ring when you make $200,000? Like, there's people out there making way less, spending 10, 20, 30 times on a ring to make sure that their partner knows they really care about them. Just a very stupid thing to do. And I also didn't know about the lead poisoning thing. That makes it even worse. So yeah, not the asshole for this one, OP. I don't know what his problem is. And now, on to the updates. After reading responses from my first post on the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, it got taken down. I was freaking out a bit. He came home while I was FaceTiming a friend about this. I hung up with her, and then talked to him for about an hour or so. He apologized for sleeping on the couch, and that he needed time to think. He doesn't see eye to eye with me on my concerns about the ring, and says that he did his research, and that it was highly rated. He says that if the ring breaks, he will replace it, but didn't say that it would be higher quality. I have people messaging me that the ring could be harmful to my health, and that Temu has horrible standards for their jewelry and labor issues, so now I really don't want to wear it. He left and went to his brother's house. Usually I'd go with him, but things are just tense. Am I the asshole for telling him that I still don't want it? In the comments, kinda tough, because had you not found out that it was from Temu, would you be upset? And OP says, to be honest, if I hadn't found out that it was from Temu, I probably wouldn't be upset. But when it inevitably breaks or tarnishes, the truth would come out. Now that I know, it has completely changed how I feel about the ring, even if it aesthetically doesn't look too bad. Did this come as a shock, or is he normally this cheap and thoughtless? OP says, he's not normally cheap or thoughtless. He's genuinely a great guy, which is making this harder to navigate. He started making me feel really guilty and materialistic today when he talked about this, and I can see his point of view, but I'm just confused. It feels like Temu is the bottom of the barrel. I'd be happy with a cheap, decent quality ring from Etsy or anywhere else. I don't really care about the price itself, it's more about the quality and feeling like he doesn't really value me the way that I thought he did. OP addresses several commenters asking if he thinks that she's a gold digger, and this was her most comprehensive response. I want to clear up the gold digger rumors because this isn't only about the cost of the ring. I only mention these things for context, not because I feel he owes me something in return. When I met him, I was making just over 100K, and he was working part-time and doing an internship, bringing in significantly less than me. He totaled his car early on in our relationship, and I happily drove him to his work every morning on the way to my work when he didn't have a car. When his mum got sick and went on hospice, I immediately cancelled all of my travel and holiday plans with my family and sat with him visiting her every day for months. I helped with funeral arrangements, I helped plan his brother's wedding, I even loaned him money for a new car once he started his new job. He did pay me back, by the way. He moved in with me recently, and most everything in the home is mine that I paid for prior to the relationship, furniture, etc. I have paid for so many plane tickets for our travels, concert tickets, etc. that I've never asked him to pay me back, and I never will. That's what a relationship is. I genuinely care for him. He has done similar gestures for me, and is more than willing to spend money on dates. Believe it or not, I'm not this greedy woman sitting here excited to get his money. I have my own. Someone else asks, have they ever been ring shopping? OP says, we never went ring shopping. The proposal was a surprise to me. We'd casually discussed getting married in the future for the past year or so, but he never asked my taste in rings, so I was kind of thinking that it happened before the engagement. I actually like the style of the ring, but now that I know it's from Temu, I just can't look at it the same way. Mini updates. I'm literally just sitting here refreshing your comments, trying to figure out what to do next. He texted to let me know that he plans on staying at his brother's house for the weekend and is taking Friday off. It's not crazy abnormal since he's been watching football over there, but I feel like he's avoiding me now. I'm trying not to be pushy about the situation, and I will give him some space, but now I'm just in my head about all of it and regretting my initial reaction. It's just a dumb ring, and maybe I've read into it too much. The only other time we've had an argument like this, it was resolved within a couple of hours, so I'm not used to this behavior from him. Update 2. He came home this morning while I was in a work from home meeting. These comments made my head spin all night. I got like 3 hours of sleep, so I admit that I may have been in the wrong for bringing up his finances, but I did. I asked him what was going on, if there was anything he needed to tell me, if he was testing me by doing this, and well, that really set him off. What kind of person do you think I am? You think I'm a cheapskate? A liar? You obviously think really poorly of me. But still, he never gave me a reason. So I asked why he was deflecting every question to victimize himself and to avoid my questions, and then he tried to leave again. So I tried de-escalating and told him that I see where he's coming from, but I need to know if he still loves me. He was immediately apologetic and still wants to get married. He said that I can just pick my ring out and buy it with my own money. Smart thing to say, smart suggestion, that one. He said that he's just sick of talking about this and that it's water under the bridge now. He's acting like his normal self again since this conversation. I hear him out there skipping around and humming to himself all happily, and it's actually pissing me off. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but I don't think that I can handle a marriage with someone like this. In the comments, Matcha Magpie says, dude said it's water under the bridge, like he's forgiving her for not being happy with his drop-shipped ring. The effing audacity. I hope OP truly understands how much he values her and has the self-respect to know that she deserves better. After telling her she's free to pick out her own ring and pay for it herself, the gasp I gasped when I read this, the dude is unhinged. Quote, he's acting like his normal self again since this convo. I heard him out there skipping around and humming to himself all happily. When I read that, I felt something snap inside me. The issue isn't the Temu ring, it's the inability for the boyfriend to hold a substantive discussion about the issue. The deflection and self-victimization is a way, way bigger red flag than whatever misguided logic he used to justify the original purpose. Yes, the fact that he just leaves is the biggest red flag. I'm also struck by the fact that he only recently moved in and that he sprang the proposal on her with only light discussion about marriage before that. All of his actions together are several small red flags making up a very large one. Quote, maybe I'm being dramatic, but I don't think I can handle a marriage with someone like this. Oh, phew. For a minute there I thought she'd capitulate and believe the am I the asshole commenters. How generous of him to tell her that she can go out and buy a symbol of his love and commitment to her all by herself and with her own money. God, I hope she breaks up with him. Given all the history she shared in response to the gold digger accusation, it sounds like he is the user and taker, not her. It's also so stupid. Like, I understand that the ring must cost 2 paychecks is effing ridiculous, but opting for a $40 ring that will disintegrate in weeks is simply moronic. Poor judgment and an even poorer reaction. I just feel so bad for this woman. She's trying to explain that she doesn't feel valued because he proposed with a ring from Wish.com's Wish.com, and he's implying that she is shallow. I take it back. I was simply under the influence of lost comment syndrome on my initial analysis of this situation. I just blanked at the part where he went to sleep on the couch and just said nothing about that. I just completely forgot that. It's malicious. He knows what he's doing. He's stupid. He disappeared from the house and he thought, the more distance I put between this one, the better. Like with a bunch of micro celebrities, whenever they get cancelled or get in controversy online, they kind of just disappear for a few months and then they're like, all right, well, it's been some time. You're not angry at me anymore. Latest case being Cody Co. I saw his Instagram story. He put up that he's doing a DJ set on the weekend. That's so funny. The fiancé here does not want to communicate. He wants to use the YouTuber strategy of getting out of drama. Fair enough to him, but it's not going to work. And then, on top of that, his clear and transparent communication to her was like, well, if you hate it so much, you go buy yourself a wedding ring. Oh my God. That's just giving you a free pass to walk out of that relationship. Who does he think he is? What a profoundly idiotic thing to say. Jesus Christ, does he not hear himself? He's the gold digger. He's projecting. Screw this guy. But anyway, thanks for the story, OP. I very much appreciate that. I hope all goes well for you in the future. My mother, 60s, published her diary in which she writes about resenting me, now 30s female, as a child. Not sure how to respond. I apologize for the wall of text. My mother has fancied herself a writer for as long as I can remember. She has kept journals, dating back to junior high school, detailing everything from first periods to first boyfriends, etc. After numerous rejection letters from publishing houses, my mother decided to self-publish her own book. She's been asking for family and friends to review her book, and after several months of avoiding the situation, my sister bought it. She was skimming through it while on the phone with me and nearly immediately advised me against reading it. I did, and was saddened, but not really surprised to learn that it's filled with not only memories of her growing up, but my first years as well. I'm portrayed as both the light of her life and the bane of her existence. I am extra work, I hound her with my large vocabulary, I whine, and I'm rude, and that gets in the way of her loving me and so much more. Much to OP's chagrin, she checked the book. My mother has always been self-centered, and as a child, I endured a ton of emotional abuse from her. I left home early, and our relationship is still strained, even 20-something years later. Her narcissistic tendencies have continued, impacting her relationships with her grandchildren. Reddit, I am just so done. I don't know how to respond to her request for a book review. She cries victim every time I've tried to tell her the truth about her behavior, and I'm painted as the bad seed. I'm so used to her behavior that, while I was saddened by what she wrote, resignation was the overwhelming emotion. She is never going to change. There isn't anything that I can do to make her realize that she is not destined to be the next Elizabeth Gilbert, and that I am done trying. She has the ear of my grandparents, who are also maligned in the book, and my stepdad, all of whom I love dearly. My relationships with them would suffer if I went no contact with my mother. In the comments, you should give her a review that says, 1 star for a contrived, boring description of an uneventful life, and the uninteresting, lackluster narrator with absolutely no self-awareness to the point that it was just kind of sad. This self-published book has caused me to lose all faith in the First Amendment, freedom of the press. Would not recommend. You should probably set up a charity for the children of some of today's mummy bloggers, because there's going to be a lot of people in the same boat as you in the next 10 to 20 years. Perhaps you just need to keep ignoring her requests to review her book. You can't give her a positive review without being untrue to yourself. As you yourself say, she's never going to be the next Elizabeth Gilbert, and no one else is going to care about her book. So at least you have the comfort that very few people are ever going to read it, and I imagine that those who do will see both sides of the story, not just the one that your mom has written. Eventually, she'll realize that no one is going to care about her book, and she'll be on to the next thing. So perhaps you just try to keep your head down through the process. Seriously, sometimes when I read those mummy blogs, I wonder if any of those mummies think about how their children will feel about it when they grow up. It must be so hurtful to read that your own mother resented you for existing. I vote for the grey rock tactic. Or if you have a grammar nerd friend, ask them to correct all of the spelling and grammar mistakes in the first chapter with a red pen and send it back with further comments. I guess I can only share what I would do in the same situation. Tell your mum to go F herself and initiate a full, lifelong no contact. I would also call my mother a coward for attempting to profit off of her misery instead of saying this to my face. You owe her nothing, but if you want some satisfaction, give her book a scathing 1-star review and tell your side of the story. This is what happened in my family when my uncle self-published a memoir of his early years that was 90% inaccurate and 100% inflammatory. My dad went full no contact, and the rest of the family followed suit in support. Sometimes I feel a bit sorry for my uncle, but on the other hand, screw him. Yeah, tough situation this one, huh, OP? You're left with, quite a few options here, but the easiest one, in my opinion, is just to let it fly under the radar and keep ignoring her with the grey rock tactic, because it's obvious you don't want to go no contact with her because of her connections to everyone else in the family. That I can completely understand, and that's why grey rocking is recommended in situations like this. But, depending on how she is and who she is as a person, she may just target you even further because she's not getting the attention she wants from you. So, there's a lot of things you can and can't do, you should or shouldn't do in situations like this. It'll be interesting to see what happens and the consequences of those choices. Me personally, I would just grey rock and go low contact, but without making it known to them that I'm going low contact. Kind of like ghosting without the full disappearance. And now, onto the update. So about a year ago, I wrote about Volume 1 using a throwaway, and now I can't remember the name or find the post. I'm sorry guys, this will be long, but forgive me, I'm devastated and rambling right now. So my mum is a writer. Last year, she self-published her book on Amazon, and basically, it's a collection of journal entries from childhood to present. Book 1 was kid years until I was 7 or 8. Book 1 detailed her abuse as a child, failed marriages, my birth, growing resentment over having to deal with husband and child. Lovely stuff. It was heartbreaking to read my mother's detailed descriptions of things she would do when she was upset, like withhold attention, affection, snap at me, yell, hide. I was never good enough for my mother, and her journal entries explained how she knew she was engaging in these hurtful behaviors, but did not stop. Unlike Volume 1, which was announced to high heaven, Mum, you're using a pseudonym. Why are you announcing this to the world? This book was published with very little fanfare. In it, I go from a shitty 8-year-old to a shitty 20-year-old. Details are skewed, distorted, twisted, and sometimes they're outright lies. It's not just me, my mother attacks everyone in my family. Her parents, her husband that she is still married to, everyone. It's shocking how much hate and vitriol this woman has, and I'm the main target. She is deeply unhappy with her life and has never been satisfied, so she lashes out in misery. From detailing my lazy eye, to my bitterness over her divorce, to the fact that I was adopted, to glasses, everything is a weapon used against me. She attacked my kids, writing that I had them too young and too many. I have 3, and they are a curse. I love my kids more than anything, and dedicated myself to being a better parent than she ever dreamed of being. On most days, I think I was successful. Other days, just like today, I feel awful. I was used to this when I lived with her, but I'm 40 now, mostly out of her reach. This is the lowest of blows. Every feeling I had when I was a kid, every insecurity and fear and feeling of worthlessness is just flooding back, and I can't stand it. Confronting her or even going no contact will play into her status as a professional victim. If I write an unfavorable review or even call her on her bullshit, she would still play the victim. She doesn't cause problems because in her mind they happen to her. Help Reddit, please. In the comments, Starcrossed Forever says, "It doesn't sound like her presence in your life has any redeeming qualities. Go no contact and don't look back. It might fit into her narrative as a victim, but she's going to do that regardless. You are trying to model healthy relationships for your children. You will never be able to do that 100% until you remove your mother from your life. I'm so sorry this happened. I also suggest therapy because this has to be a mindfuck. I remember her original post, and I believe the consensus was that she should cut her mother off. But she hasn't followed that advice, and here she is coming back with the exact same problem again. She's looking for a magic wand to make her mother love her. As hard as it might be to swallow, that magic wand does not exist. OP needs to get into therapy and come to terms with the fact that she will never have a positive relationship with her mother, and that it would be best for her and her children to never speak to her again. OP says, "You're right. I think I've been chasing the idea that she can change, and with this latest volume, I realize it's impossible. I think it's time to go no contact. Thanks." Are you identified by name in this book? Does the book contain factually incorrect statements about you that could damage your reputation and/or cause you demonstrable financial harm? If so, that is libel. Major grounds for a lawsuit if you suffer provable damages. Loss of job, loss of clients if you own a business, etc. OP says, "She gave me a pseudonym as well. I thought about that, but other than damaging my reputation with friends of hers and our family, no one would know that it's me." Update 2. Hi all. I posted this rant about my mother a few months back. I received some wonderful advice from many of you, thanks to Starcrossed Forever, and wanted to give a little update. I've been no contact with her since about a week after that last post. I sent her a brief email detailing the why of it all and said I don't want any contact except in the case of extreme emergency. She never responded. She emailed me once before Christmas to let me know that she was mailing something to my kids. I responded only with their email addresses and phone numbers so she could contact them directly. I don't expect to ever heal this rift. There is no magic wand to make her love me, and my mother will never recognize her own faults. I've done some therapy and a ton of soul-searching and realized that's okay. I don't need the negative in my life. I'm better off without her. I spoke to my grandparents briefly about the situation, and they were so much more supportive than I could have hoped. My grandma gives me the occasional update, but she's as done as I am. So that's it, no drama, nothing except for a closed chapter in my life and a lot less weight on my back. Much love and thanks to you all. In the comments, Rebel Heart says, "Why on earth would you give that woman your kids' contacts? She's only going to tell them all kinds of lies about you, I guarantee it." OP says, "My kids are nearly grown, 17, 18, and 19. My mum lives in another state, and their contact with her was already limited. They have watched this unfold from the beginning, and while I didn't give them intimate details, they know enough. They've also had personal experience with her. My older daughter confided in her that she was going through a really difficult time. My mother swore to keep her secrets, then promptly turned around and told me everything. They are well aware of how she operates. Thank you for asking though. As someone who has also lost parents due to their selfishness and lack of love for me, I feel you and am really sorry. You can't be loved by the heartless." And OP says, "You're right, you can't. But that's not your fault, and I'm sorry that you went through it too." I feel so awful for OP. It's one thing to go through stuff with your parents while growing up. It's a whole other story knowing your childhood is now published in a book for the world to see. No contact is the only way. It doesn't sound like her garbage got a lot of traction, so I doubt OP needs to fear about having her intimate problems read by the world. It was probably only bought by family members. Yeah, the ramblings of a narcissistic woman who thinks the world is against her, then needs to beg friends and family to read her book? As a person who had a person like that in my life, I cut her off before I read her book, man. No one's reading that book. For those who didn't know who James Frey was, like me, he's an author that was caught exaggerating events in his memoir, among other things. The website stated that Frey was never incarcerated and that he had greatly exaggerated the circumstances of a key arrest detailed in the memoir, hitting a police officer with a car while high on crack, which led to a violent melee with multiple officers and an 87-day jail sentence. In the police report that TSG uncovered, Frey was held at a police station for no more than 5 hours before posting a bond of a few $100s with some minor offenses. The arresting officer, according to TSG, recalled Frey as having been polite and cooperative. Good effing Christ. I couldn't even fathom resenting a child that has no control over themselves, let alone making money off of a book with me making those resentments public without telling that child ahead of time. Then we get into volume 2, and it's somehow worse. OP needs like 17 hugs. Hey, that's not fair. We have no evidence that book made any money. Badgering friends and family for reviews is definitely a sign that it's not selling. My next-door neighbor has a whole box of copies of her self-published book, demanded that I take a copy, then badgered me endlessly about reviewing it on Amazon to help boost her visibility until I gave up and lied, claimed I didn't have an Amazon account. I tried reading the book once. It was awful, and I wish I hadn't. Like, you know that discomfort some folks can get over words like moist? It was that feeling in book form. Can promise nobody on the whole surface of the planet wanted to know any of those weird details about my neighbor's life. And it was just as bossy as she is in real life. Well, at least OP cut her off and is moving on from that one. I'm glad you made the right choice in this situation, OP, and thank you for doing the right thing. In the end, I guess grey rocking was not the thing to do here, and going completely cold turkey from her was the only thing that could really give you the liberation from her bullshit that you desired. So thank you for sharing your story with us, OP. This was one that I wanted to hear, unlike your mom's. Our next post is by user StreetBlackberry174, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my coworker that I didn't enjoy my pregnancy?" A new coworker started 3 months ago. Let's call her Linda. She seems pretty nice, which is why I'm really not sure about all of this. At my work, we have a tradition where once a new employee successfully completes their probation, we go out for a team lunch. Nothing fancy, but something nice to celebrate. Linda passed her probation, so we went out for lunch. As we're eating, we all get to talking, and the topic of the magic of pregnancy and childbirth comes up. Everyone was sharing sweet moments from their pregnancy. I enthusiastically joined in, but didn't share any of my own. I think Linda noticed because she specifically turned to me and said, "You had twins, didn't you? That must have been a wonderful experience." I smiled and said something along the lines of how I wished my pregnancy and birth had been as positive an experience as theirs had been. To be clear, it was not said sarcastically at all. The truth is, I hated every moment of being pregnant. I could write a long list of all the magical symptoms I had, but I'll just give you the highlights. Horrific, vivid nightmares, hyperemesis gravidarum, which is severe morning sickness, debilitating migraines, a metallic taste in my mouth, and then the birth. Honestly, I feel like anything that could go wrong, but not be life-threatening, did go wrong. Worst of all, due to some of the complications, I ended up being kept in hospital for a while, so I missed the first few days with my girls. It's safe to say that I hated every moment of being pregnant and every moment of labor. It was not a magical experience by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't say any of this to Linda, I just responded as I mentioned. After my reply, Linda started getting short with me. Later, I asked her privately what was going on, and she snapped at me and told me what I said was insensitive and undermined their experiences, and told me that I was an asshole for it. Since then, she's sort of cooled off and is less hostile, or at least less openly hostile, but last week she invited all the girls in the team to a ladies' night, everyone but me. Now, I don't mind so much, since ladies' nights are not really my thing, but the fact that she pointedly excluded me has made things awkward. I feel like I need to do something. I'm not really in the mood for drama. I have enough of that in my life right now. I don't need more. So I haven't confronted her about it yet. And as I said, she's otherwise a really nice person. Normally pretty friendly and easygoing, so I'm left wondering if I really was an asshole. Was what I said insensitive? Did it undermine their experience? Before I ask her about it, I could use some perspective because I honestly just don't know. Am I the asshole? In the comments, All7 and We Watch Him Fall says, "Good lord, so not the asshole. I would have wondered if she was pregnant with the way that she responded. I also had a very miserable pregnancy and a serious life-threatening event, heart failure. You could say that's a serious event, oh my god. So I can relate to these stories. You weren't being sarcastic, you weren't telling these women that they sucked for having positive experiences, you didn't call them liars. You just shared your experience. She has shown that she is very petty by excluding you from a ladies' night event. All of this would make me very cautious of working on any projects with her. Good luck. OP says, it might be. The conversation came about because she was talking about how much she wished she was pregnant again, she has a 2-year-old, and how she misses being pregnant. Could be she is in fact pregnant, but if she is, then she clearly doesn't know it. It's absolutely unhinged she accused her of undermining her good experience by just not sharing your own negative one? When really her reaction is undermining anyone who did have a negative pregnancy experience. She wants it to be magical, but it just effing isn't for some people. It's miserable, and they should get to talk about it without being made to feel like a Debbie Downer. Yes, women like her that don't allow for any deviation from their idyllic preconceptions are effing exhausting. Not the asshole OP, and I would recommend keeping your distance if you can. She is not a safe person. Just keep your other work relationship strong because she's already working to cut you out. Yeah, I would have been so tempted as OP to respond something along the lines of, I was too busy puking and being sick to notice anything lovely about my pregnancy, sorry. Not really sorry, but it was a work lunch, so tossing out the little lie to soften things is a nice thing, right? I mean, I had infertility. I would have been so pissed at her conversation and attitudes. I completely agree. Not every pregnancy is magical, and it's unfair to dismiss those experiences. Not the asshole. Linda is playing mean girl, and you're her first target. OP says, until now, she has always seemed so nice. We've always had a laugh and nice chats and otherwise gotten along. I really hope this is not the case. Someone replies to OP, adult mean girls always start off nice, otherwise it's harder to get people on your side. Hopefully things will stay professional. That's because she was on probation and had to play nice. She is no longer on probation, so all bets are off. Be wary of this woman. She's trying to isolate you from the rest of the team. Bingo. She was nice because she had to be, and then went looking for blood in the water. A user up thread suggested shoring up your office relationships, and if it continues, you might want to mention it to HR. Mean girls only get worse. Just for some context, how did the conversation get that way? Is it possible Linda has had issues getting pregnant that you know of? Because otherwise, I have no idea why this might have upset her, so maybe context, if possible, would help. This is the problem with chit-chat in a work setting. I've fallen into so many traps where people bring up topics that we don't agree on or have the same experiences, and you never know what offends people. Talking about the weather, ethnic food, or mass transit are very contentious where I work. What bothers me about OP's experience is that she didn't really say anything negative. Linda was reaching to find offense in her comments. I fully back OP in this instance. I think it's a not the asshole judgment. I think Linda is being an absolute cow. I think she is off probation, so she took the training weights off and she says, who's my first target? It's you, OP. Bam! Right in the kisser. If you're a mean girl, you can't wait to be unhinged, uncaged, and free to spread around your mean girl rage. Let's bring that energy into Q4, guys, huh? Fourth quarter of 2024, we're bringing mean girl energy to the office. But yeah, I don't think OP really said anything negative. Linda was reaching. Linda's just being a witch. I think we should ignore Linda, or just leave her to her own devices. And now, onto the update. Since posting, I've kept my distance from Linda as recommended by commenters, which has been tough because our work often overlaps, and we're in the same team. Since then, I noticed she has snapped at other co-workers as well. I figured that commenters were right, that now her probation was over, the nice girl act was over too. Things were awkward. Then I heard her crying in the bathroom. I didn't want to get involved in case it caused another fight, but I also couldn't just leave her there when there might be a problem, so I told Tina, our team lead, who then went to check on Linda. A while later, Tina came back and said she had sent Linda home as she wasn't feeling well. A few days later, Linda came back to work. She asked to speak with me alone. It probably wasn't the best idea, but I agreed to, and I'm so glad I did. Linda apologized for how she snapped at me. I asked why she excluded me from ladies' night, and she said she didn't invite me to ladies' night because I had told her that I didn't like them. To be fair, I have a vague memory of this coming up in conversation a while ago, but she had something else to tell me. It turns out that some of you were right. Linda is pregnant. When she got home, her boyfriend asked her to take a pregnancy test because the last time she was pregnant, she got super broody and her mood was all over the place. Being happy one minute, bursting into tears the next, then being super irritable. As bad as she was being at work, she was even worse at home. She took a test and, yep, she's pregnant. She told me that she wanted me to be the first person in the office to know about it. I guess it was her way of apologizing. I accepted her apology and chose to believe her about the ladies' night, albeit cautiously. I'm still keeping a slight guard up because who knows? For all I know, this is some game she's playing. But for now, I'm choosing to take her at her word. Obviously, her being pregnant doesn't excuse how she spoke to me, but it does explain it. And if that's genuinely the issue, then hopefully that means the issue is solved. In the comments, Throwback Blue says, "Sounds like an excuse. I wouldn't believe anything she said. Being pregnant is not an excuse to treat people like that. She didn't know she was pregnant at the time, though. Sounds to me like she didn't recognize her behavior was bad until it was pointed out to her. And now that she knows she's pregnant, she's now aware of the fact that she's going to be irrational sometimes and can take steps to mitigate it. Like, say, apologizing for overreacting to a perceived slight. It's not an excuse, but it is a reason. Before I found out I was pregnant, I was like that. Everything was irritating as hell. Even normal customers who weren't causing any trouble in my mind, I was like, "Why are you here, you annoying ass motherfricker?" And then I took a test and it made sense. Knowing the source of a problem drastically helps to solve it. I was still irritated a lot, but I knew that it was irrational, so I was able to calm myself down better. OP replies, "I'm still keeping a cautious distance. I'm choosing to believe her presently unless I hear or see anything to the contrary. I don't know if she's telling the truth, but I don't see any point in creating any further drama. I am keeping my guard up. I guess we'll see what happens. And I totally agree that it's no excuse to treat people that way." Further in the comments, did she even apologize? OP says, she did, and it seemed genuine. Due to a toxic family member, I have had to learn what a genuine apology looks like, and it did seem very much like a genuine one to me. So I'm hopeful this is genuine, although I don't discount that she knows how to make an apology sound genuine, but she doesn't mean it. I'm hoping it is a genuine one, but I'm prepared if it's not. Someone else says, "I think, as a general rule, you should avoid taking work friendships out of the workplace. I know that sometimes you meet co-workers and you just click, but there are written and unwritten rules that govern work behavior. When you blur the lines, especially if drinking or indulging in decriminalized recreational drug use are involved, it's safer to hold back a bit unless you want your company to know all your business. Socializing with co-workers should be considered a work environment." OP replies, "To be honest, although I get along with my colleagues, we don't hang out or interact outside of work. Aside from if we happen to see one another out and about, we say hi. But we do sometimes have work gatherings like the team lunch, which was held during work hours, or every year we have a Christmas party, also during work hours. I don't think I've ever hung out with any of my colleagues outside of work." If Linda came to her unprompted to make the apology, which it sounds like she did, I'm more inclined to believe that at the very least, she did feel some genuine remorse, while also acknowledging that she could be way overstating the factor of her being pregnant to excuse some of her responsibility, which puts her head and shoulders above most other assholes we read about. So generally, unless I'm mistaken, the whole growing another human being inside your body thing is not all rainbows and sunshine, right? Women are just taught their pains matter less than the magical miracle of a new baby, and have learned to grin and bear it since a young child. Yes, I think it's very refreshing to have women publicly shared that birth and pregnancy is not necessarily all sunshine and rainbows, and that the experience can be wildly different. When women only ever hear about how great it can and should be, it can not only be very jarring for them to experience different, but it can make them feel wrong for feeling differently, or make them feel like they shouldn't express that. It shoves women into a box I don't appreciate. To be honest, my initial thought was that she might have struggled to get pregnant or struggled with miscarriages, and felt like OP didn't appreciate the miracle that is being able to successfully conceive. Am I the asshole here for exposing my aunt's affair with my cousin's boyfriend and tearing the family apart? I, 19 female, am diagnosed with ASPD. Don't worry, I'm not a danger to myself or anyone else, and I need opinions of people who can feel empathy to know if I was wrong. Yesterday night, it was my cousin Bianca, 21 female's birthday. We were all invited to her house, as she still lives with her parents, and we have a big family. My family arrived first, and a while later, my aunt, who was just divorced, Cami, 46 female, arrived, and when she hugged Bianca's boyfriend, Vincent, 21 male, I thought that they seemed pretty close. After we sang happy birthday and cut the cake, Cami asked me to take pictures with her unlocked phone, as I don't like to be in photos. As I was taking them, I saw a notification from someone called Vincent, and accidentally, more or less, opened it. It said, "I can't wait till the party is over." It was him. I knew his profile picture. Not even 10 minutes later, Cami asked Vincent to help her bring the gift to Bianca from the car. It was an electric guitar. Curious, I followed them into the backyard, and under the pale light of the car, saw them kissing. As I had my phone in hand, I quickly snapped a picture and went into the house before they could see me. They came back 15 minutes later. As much as I don't care about Bianca, I thought she deserved to know the truth. So when it was my turn to give her my gift, I pulled her aside and showed her the picture. She burst into tears and started screaming, confronting both Cami and Vincent. "How could you do this to me?" There were lots of tears and shouting. Vincent said that it was only one kiss, only this time, but then I asked to see his phone and he denied. Cami also denied, calling me a psychopathic, heartless B-word. The party ended soon after, and Vincent left with Cami. Now my family is divided into 3 fronts. 1, my grandma, grandpa, uncle, and mother think it was not my place to tell. 2, Bianca's father, my other aunt, Bianca's mother, Bianca's brother, and Bianca, who think I should have waited till the end of the party to tell and not ruined her 21st birthday. And 3, my sister, my father, and my other cousin who think I did the right thing. Feels like everyone is mad at me and not the cheaters. So Reddit, tell me, am I the asshole here? This is a bit of a tricky one because you have to take Bianca's feelings and embarrassment and shame into the equation. Though I don't fault OP at all for doing it, and I applaud them for publicly humiliating those 2 pieces of shit, Bianca was harmed in the crossfire here. Ultimately, OP is not the asshole for doing it, and I like that it happened this way, though it was, for others, obviously, in this situation, wrong place, wrong time. It caused a spectacle, it caused a lot of damage to some people here, more so than others. And I don't think that Bianca deserved to be publicly humiliated like this, especially on her 21st birthday. That's just a wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. But I do understand why OP did it, because OP wanted to shame those 2 publicly, so they couldn't get away with it behind closed doors, or outside of the public eye. Jackfruit says, not the asshole. I feel like the birthday would have been ruined either way. It's sad that they couldn't even wait for your cousin to have a good birthday to act on their affair. And OP says, right? I was flabbergasted. External says, it's anyone's place to tell on a cheater, not the asshole. OP says, thank you, I feel validated. Juicy Sophie says, you're not the asshole for exposing the affair, but you could have chosen a better time and place to do it. OP says, thank you, I find it hard to take other people's feelings into account since I don't have many of my own. I will apologize to Bianca. Hemione says, yeah, finding out you're being cheated on in public can be also really embarrassing. You feel shame, anger, disgust, and vulnerable. It's usually one of the lowest points of someone's life, so you really don't want an audience for it. It makes it a spectacle. If you're ever in a situation like that again, as hard as it is to wait, make sure the victim of cheating has some privacy. And OP says, I will, thank you. Life Letters says, you did the right thing by telling Bianca. In the future, could you talk to someone close to you who tends to do the right thing often and ask for their advice on how to proceed? If you're close to anyone in the second group of people who thought right thing, wrong time, they could be a good sounding board in the future. And OP comes back with an update and says, hi. So as you can see from my profile, I'm not an active user, so I hope this post finds those who answered my previous post. My grandparents called for an urgent family meeting this afternoon. Me, my sister, father and mother went as soon as we could. When we arrived, Bianca was already there. As some of you suggested, I called her into the other room and apologized for airing the dirty laundry in front of everyone. She cried a little bit and also apologized for being mad at me, thanking me because if I hadn't taken the picture, she wouldn't have believed me, as she's been with Vincent for 5 years. She then hugged me, which was a bit awkward since we haven't hugged in many years. To give you a rundown, Vincent left with Cammy last night and broke up with Bianca over text. When Cammy showed up at the family meeting, she was bombarded with questions, like when did it start, how did it start? She answered calmly, although it seemed like she cried a lot during the night. The affair started when Vincent turned 18, so 3 years ago, at a previous birthday of Bianca's. My mother, who had been on her side before, was disgusted. My grandparents admitted knowing and encouraging the affair, but apologized. Oh my, what? Ew. Ew, brother, ew, the grandparents? Bianca stormed off and said she would cut everyone who kept in touch with Cammy off. I did not follow her, as we are not super close. I forgot to mention in my previous post, but Cammy is not just my aunt, she's my godmother, which is a very important title where I live, like a second mother. As she was leaving, as the family had decided to cast her out, she asked if she could talk to me. And me being curious, I went. And that's when she pulled out some jumper cables. Just kidding. She told me she was sorry, and I said that I was not the one she should apologize to. I said she was preying on Vincent, but she vehemently denied, saying she never had eyes for him before he was 18. Yeah, right, I said. She started crying, saying it was a mistake, and she would do anything to have her family back. I said I was not the one wronged, but I will not forgive you and will cut you off, as your actions tell me a lot about your morale. Do not contact me ever again. She cried, begged, and pleaded, saying that I was like a daughter to her. So I said, I am a psychopathic, heartless B-word after all, and left. She tried calling and messaging, but I blocked her everywhere, as did the rest of my family. I don't think I'll update again, but thanks to everyone who tried to help and gave your inputs. Wacky says, not the asshole. This woman groomed a kid and then started sleeping with him supposedly at 18. It's sick as sick gets. Add to that, she's doing her niece's boyfriend and it's even more sick. Grandparents are disgusting too. This isn't an empathy question. This is basic morality. A man in black replies, it's kinda telling that even the diagnosed psychopath has a better understanding of right and wrong than the cheating groomer. Striking Wind says, I have to say, for someone who has a condition where they don't feel empathy like that, I'm really proud of you for sticking to your convictions and doing the morally and ethically right thing. I think Cammy and your grandparents are gonna burn in hell. What disgusting, shitty effing people who could do that. And to family, no less. Absolute garbage. OP replies, thank you. I decided to cut off my grandparents too, as well as my sister and Bianca. Hidden Agenda says, why the hell would your grandparents encourage that? I would honestly cut them off too. They encouraged her grooming a child and sleeping with him as soon as he was 18. Not just any child, but your cousin's boyfriend. That's so gross. And OP replies, I have no idea why they encouraged it, as at the time nobody asked. My guess is that Cammy has always been the golden child of theirs, as long as I've lived. She can do no wrong in their eyes. Once she totaled my mother's car, and they convinced my mother to not make her pay. Like, at all. Me, my sister, and Bianca will be cutting them off. I am yet to know about the rest of the family. Yeah, I mean, it is incredibly gross, is it not? She did groom that 18-year-old before he turned 18. I think that the entire family cutting her off is the minimum you can do in a situation like this. And that just boosts the argument of she deserved to be publicly humiliated before this story could be buried and lied about behind closed doors. It's very telling that the grandparents didn't exactly side with OP either. It's great that all these monsters' masks are slipping, because why would you want to keep anyone like that in your life? They are dangerous people. And disgusting. Anyway, what did you guys think of this one? Let me know down in the comments below. And let's go to the next story. This one's by user Empty Chemist, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my sister I don't know if I love her after finding out about her 5-year affair? My sister, 32, moved in with me because she got pregnant 5 months ago from what she claimed was a one-night stand. I love my sister, so of course I took her in. My husband is overseas for 6 more months, so it was nice to have her around because I care about her very much. On Monday, I came home and saw my sister and a strange woman in a screaming match on my doorstep. I obviously didn't know what was happening, but I saw the woman was poking my sister's shoulder, so I intervened. I sent my sister inside, and she begged me to send the woman away. I didn't understand what was going on, but I wanted the altercation to end for everyone's sake. So I told the woman as much, but then she started screaming, asking me if I was also sleeping with her husband. I was like, huh? And then she basically revealed that my sister had been having an affair with her husband for 5 years. She had everything printed out. Chats, photos, emails, receipts. It was disturbing to see, and I didn't want to go through it all. But a few things were established. 1. My sister knew about his wife. She knew that she was the mistress and liked it. 2. This woman was a stay-at-home mum to her 4 kids, one of whom has a severe disability from a car accident. 3. Her husband knew about my sister's pregnancy and even took her on a baby moon to celebrate it. 4. The affair had been going on the entire time, with my sister believing that he would eventually leave his wife for her. And 5. My sister had fully embraced the role of being the other woman and was emotionally invested in their relationship, despite his repeated lies about leaving his wife. I told the woman that I was very sorry and that I obviously didn't know, but I asked her to leave because this wasn't going anywhere, and I didn't want the neighbors to call the police. She was furious, but gave me her number on a post-it, begging me to not let her husband stay at my house. I assured her that no man was stepping foot in my home. My sister was begging me not to believe the woman, calling her a vindictive ex-wife. I told her, all right then, let's look up the marriage online. Let's see if a motion for dissolution of marriage was ever submitted. We fought hard. My sister kept saying that I would never understand and that they loved each other, but he just couldn't leave his wife, blah blah blah. I called her dumb and naive. The next day, I told her she could stay here because I didn't want her to become a financial burden on that woman in any way, but I also told her that right now, I didn't want to engage with her. My sister asked me if I still loved her, and I told her honestly, right now, I can't say that I do. I will always help my nephew and not endanger you, but I can't like you because you've shown me that you are not a trustworthy person. I told her that I didn't trust her not to try anything with my husband, and I didn't trust her with anything at all, so I made her sign a tenants agreement. She's been begging me to forgive her, and I told her that there is nothing to forgive. I just don't know who she is anymore. Am I the asshole here? I think she's dangerous and delusional, and I completely understand why you're doing what you're doing as well, OP. It really sucks to have to be stuck in the middle of a situation like that, and I completely empathize. I would not want to be in your position, because yeah, that woman deserves to have your sister off her ass, financially, emotionally, physically, everything like that. But you also don't deserve to be put in danger by whatever revenge could be enacted upon your sister. I think a more ideal situation would be to have your parents looking after her, but that doesn't sound like it's possible because if it could have happened, I imagine it would have happened. I'm gonna go with not the asshole on this one. Lunar Eclipse says, not the asshole. OP, not only was it shitty for her to not come clean to you after all that you did, but she very easily could be putting you in danger. You have no idea if this man or his wife may become unhinged. She already showed up at your house. Are you expecting him to visit? OP says, literally, yes. That was also what I said, and she was like, he would never do that, blah blah blah. Fat chance. Rosalie replies, do you have cameras at your house to stop him coming over when you're out? I would. And OP says, we do have one of those bell camera thingies. Well, no way there says, OP, what are you going to do once the baby is here? Assuming the dad wants to be in the kid's life, at least somewhat, I think it's unreasonable to ban him from the house. Have you considered asking your sister to get her own place? OP replies, if she wants him there, she can get her very own apartment. If she still wants to stay and save up for a baby, she has to adhere to my house rules. She's free to go and see him outside. OP comes back with an update and says, first, I'd like to clarify a few things. I'm not going to tell my sister to get rid of the baby. That's not my place, and I would never suggest such a thing. Also, I'm not going to install tracking software on her phone or demand access to all of her devices. That's invasive and wrong. I've been thinking a lot, and while I can't say that I don't love my sister, it's very hard to feel that love right now. I don't know who she is anymore. It's not just that she lied to me, it's what she did and how convinced she is that she was justified because they were in love. She's brought chaos into my home that I opened up to her. I'm deeply disappointed in her, and I just don't like her at the moment. I'm letting her stay with me because I don't want her to become dependent on him. I don't think he's a good man either, and as a social worker, I've seen these scenarios too many times. My sister is already deluded. I don't need to open the door to a dependency that is also financial. Now on to the updates. I haven't been punishing my sister, but I've been treating her like a roommate. This is driving her crazy. She's begging me to go back to how things were before, but I just can't. I told her that I needed time and that things can't just return to normal overnight. She tried to explain how it all happened. She admitted that she always knew he was married, but she believed she could tell how unhappy he was and felt he deserved to be happy. They met at a bar a few weeks after his son's accident. He told her that his wife hadn't touched him since it happened and that he was about to explode. I asked her why she would involve herself with a married man, knowing the hurt that it would cause. She said she wanted to be a wife and a good mum, and that included his kids. She had hoped that he would divorce his wife so they could all move on and finally be happy together. I just stared at her, unable to comprehend how she could rationalize her actions. Oh, she crazy. A few days later, he appeared at our house, claiming that he had left his wife and wanted to be with my sister. I told him to leave immediately, or I would call the police. My sister was furious with me, accusing me of ruining her chance at happiness. I made it clear to her, if he comes over again, I will evict her. She's free to date anyone she wants, but not under my roof. I also told her that if she plans to have him around after the baby is born, she'll need to find her own place. Word has gotten around our community about the affair. While we were grocery shopping, a woman even spat on my sister. Oh my god. Many of her friends have cut ties with her, calling her a homewrecker. Some are married themselves and don't want her near their husbands. I haven't said, I told you so, even once. We unexpectedly ran into his wife at a local cafe. My sister wanted to apologize and suggested that maybe they could all have a good relationship for the sake of the kids. The wife laughed coldly and said, "You made your choices. Now live with them. Don't expect me to make this easier for you." My sister is devastated and has been lying in bed ever since. I'm taking care of her physical needs, making sure she eats, stays hydrated, and attends her prenatal appointments, but I can't bring myself to comfort her emotionally. I just don't have it in me right now. Deleted says, "You're the asshole. Your sister did something wrong, but why is nobody talking about the actual married man who cheated on the wife that he promised to commit to? Y'all weird as hell. OP says, because he's not my sister. Deleted says, okay, what the hell? Girl, you're dumb as hell. Your sister didn't cheat on anyone, but yet the person who did just gets off scot-free? Guttymez says, the sister knew she was being a homewrecker and embraced it. If you don't think there's a problem with that, that's a moral failing on you, not the OP. Obviously not the asshole. Deleted says, OP's sister is a single woman who can do what she wants. She didn't cheat on anyone, didn't put a gun to a dude's head to bang, dude shouldn't have blew up his own marriage. He made the vows and was supposed to adhere to them. No consideration replies, sounds like you're giving a homewrecker a pass. Deleted replies, what her sister does doesn't affect us, so why be mad? I never defended what she did. I'm saying that the man deserves the blame too, and he deserves even more of the blame because he's the married one. No consideration replies, and who is saying that she doesn't blame the man? This post is specifically about her sister and her sister's actions. OP doesn't even know this man from Adam. What's she supposed to do to him? Deleted replies, does she have to know him to blame him? OP replies, okay, I get what you mean. I blame him. He is a horrible man with no morals. He couldn't even wait for his son to be out of the hospital to start an affair because his ballpark wasn't getting scratched by his wife, who was also in the accident. I hate him. I hate him so badly that I resent that he exists. But he is not in my life. I didn't know him. He has no cards in my life. I am so mad at my sister for not only screwing up her life, but also bringing chaos into mine after I opened my home to her. I am mad that she lied to me for 5 years, but most of all, I'm disgusted with her horrible, selfish actions. She wasn't lured into this. She knew from the beginning that she was a mistress. She knew what she was doing. She knew that it was wrong, and yet she kept doing it and lying through her teeth. I don't know who she is. And OP comes back with the final update and says, my sister just won't stop talking about him. Every day it's the same story. Their perfect future together, the apartment they're moving into, how everything will be great once his divorce is done. She's completely lost in this delusion, acting like none of the lies and betrayal matter. I can't stand it. She made him write me letters. Yes, actual letters, as if that's going to magically make me approve of him. She leaves them around the house, thinking that if I just read them, I'll suddenly understand how sorry he is and how much he loves her. I haven't responded to a single one. It's ridiculous. I told her over and over that I don't want anything to do with him, but she keeps pushing, as if she can wear me down. It is beyond frustrating. Then came the talk of moving in together. She sat me down and asked me for my blessing, telling me how important it was to her that I support their relationship. She actually wanted me to meet him to give him a chance. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That's when I drew the line. I told her flat out that if she moves in with him, I'm done. I told her that I would go low contact, that I wouldn't be a part of their life, and that she's on her own if she goes through with this. If she wanted my support, she had to leave him. Full stop. For a moment, I thought she was finally getting it. She showed me screenshots from his ex-wife. The ex pretended she wanted him back, and this guy fell for it immediately. He told her how much he missed her, how my sister was a mistake, how he wanted to fix things with his family. My sister was crushed. She came to me with the screenshots, crying, and I thought for a couple of days that maybe, just maybe, she would finally see him for who he is. I was hopeful. But then, as usual, he wormed his way back in. He told her he only said those things because he was afraid that his ex would take the kids away. And of course, she bought it. Now she's actively moving in with him, packing up her things, and making all of these plans as if nothing happened. The screenshots? Forgotten. The lies? Excused. She's determined to be with him no matter what, and I am done. I told her that I'm not helping her anymore. No more driving her to appointments, no more checking on her, nothing. I'm not going to pretend everything's okay while she's diving headfirst into this disaster. Now I barely talk to her. If she asks where the tea is, I will tell her. If she wants to know if there is milk left, I will answer, but that is it. I'm emotionally cut off, and I told her straight that I'll be here if things fall apart, if she's in danger, but I'm not going to be a part of this train wreck. She's on her own now. The community backlash hasn't slowed down either. Everywhere we go, people are whispering, staring, and judging. They're not just looking at her, they're looking at me too. People know she's living with me, and I've started hearing comments at work about why I haven't completely cut her off. It's affecting my life now, and I can't just carry her mistakes anymore. Her friends? All gone. The ones who were married have cut ties completely. She's isolated herself, but instead of waking up, she's clinging harder to him, holding on to this fantasy that everything will work out. But I'm done caring. She's made her choice, and now she has to live with the fallout. This is the final update because I'm finished. I'm done trying, done caring, done dealing with the mess that she has made. She can have her life with him, but I'm not going to be a part of it. Don named 10 says, "Not the arsehole. Let her be. Kick her out sooner. This started to affect your life more than her." OP says she's leaving by the 23rd at the latest. Traveler says she'll lose him as she got him. You'll hear from her in the future when he cheats on her. And OP says, I give it 3 months. G-Drum says, I don't blame you for being over this whole mess. As my mom would say, I won't be shitting out what you eat, meaning the consequences of your sister's actions are for her and her alone to deal with. You've been a good sister and have done all you can to make her see the error of her ways. Now you just have to let the chips fall where they may. I'm nosy. Can you come back and tell us her sob story when she comes crawling back? And OP replies, I like that idiom. I don't know. Maybe if I need to vent, but I hope that this is the last of my involvement. Alajamic says, this is just sad. Poor OP. I didn't expect any less though. The sister basically ruined her life for a man. Obviously she feels like she has to make it work. I bet she's going to ignore if he ever cheats on her. Also, why are so many people saying that this has nothing to do with OP? Obviously you'd be mad disappointed in your family and friends if they did something like this. Yeah, of course the guy was married, but she stayed in a relationship where she knew she was the other woman. She knew what she was doing. That is no mistake, that is a decision, and not a decision that anyone has to support. Unconditional love does not mean unconditional support. Yeah, very weird that people will say that this has nothing to do with OP because the sister is living in OP's house and OP is loving and empathetic enough to look after her sister, who she knows is suffering from grand delusions, and trying her best to kind of soft parent her and be like, hey man, I'm gonna try and convince you that you're crazy and I want you to snap out of it and, see where I'm coming from. I can't blame OP for doing that at all. That's a very caring and empathetic thing to do. I would hope that if I was faced with a situation, I could be as caring and trusting as OP is. But if those people don't wake up, you have to let them go, and you have to let them hit rock bottom. I mean, once you hit rock bottom, the only way is up, hopefully. I hope once that happens, she doesn't go further down, because that would not be a good outcome to this situation. Anyway, that's enough of my rambling. I'd love to know your rambling down in the comments below. Am I the asshole here for breaking up with and kicking my girlfriend out because she went to an after party without me? I, 24 male, and my girlfriend, 23 female, Anne, began dating in college. Last week, Anne invited me to her coworker, Joe's, party. I'd heard a lot about him in the past, and he and she really seemed to have a lot in common, especially with their taste in music. Apparently, he was an amateur musician with a fairly successful YouTube channel. Joe initially invited Anne, but when she asked him if I could tag along, he said that it was fine. The party was on Saturday evening. It was a fun party with about 30 people, held at a restaurant that Joe had rented out. Towards the end, though, I wandered into Anne's discussion group, and I immediately got the feeling that nobody really wanted me there. Most of all, Anne. It was her, Joe, and a few other people. Thinking that I was just imagining things, I hung around and listened to Joe basically boast about himself the whole time. A little while later, I wandered off to get myself a drink and chat with a few other people. Eventually, the time to leave came around, and I went to find Anne again. Joe approached me at that point and said he was having an after-party over at his house. I was going to refuse, but then he said, "Sorry man, but only Anne is invited," while clapping me on the shoulder. I first told him not to touch me, and then said she's not going. He informed me that she had already accepted the invitation. I texted Anne immediately to ask where she was. She responded, "Sorry, on the way to Joe's place. I'll see you tomorrow. Love you." And I asked if she knew that I wasn't invited, and then she left me on read. Texts after that were all ignored. I drove home furious. I stayed up all night, and finally Anne walked in the door at 5:42 a.m. I know because I was by the window watching. I recognized the car as Joe's and the driver as Joe. Nobody else was in the car. Anne waved to him cutely and laughed at something that he said. Anne came inside and acted surprised to still see me up. At that point, I flatly told her that we were done and she had the rest of the day to move out. Anne was at first confused with me, and then I told her that she can just move in with Joe. She rolled her eyes and said nothing happened, and she then gave me this spiel about my insecurities and imagination. I said it didn't matter. After this back and forth arguing, Anne finally relented and sarcastically thanked me for wasting the best years of her life. Anne finally moved out yesterday, and it was pretty dramatic. She said that she loved me and that I was throwing away everything over a party. Did I do her wrong here? I feel like I'm getting gaslit. Honestly, I think that your feelings are valid in this situation, OP, and I do feel as though you are getting gaslit because her being like, nothing bad actually happened at the party, by the sounds of it, you're just mad. You're just big mad. It's all your insecurities and imagination, bro. You just imagined not getting an invite to the after party, and you just imagined the group not wanting you there and not having good vibes. So you're actually the problem. You're actually the one that wasted my life here. Anne is huffing some real copium with that one. I don't think she's able to cope with that situation, Anne. I honestly wouldn't waste your time on her, OP. She sounds like a mess, not the asshole. Susu says, she left you at a party that she invited you to, went to another party without communicating with you, and ghosted you when you messaged her. I'm sorry, but she doesn't care or respect you. At least you were no priority, and her colleagues seem to be more important. I would never leave my partner that I came with to a party stranded at a party and then gaslight him for being angry. It seems as though you are her safety person, the one who should wait for her and take care of her, and that's it. Not the asshole. Bobo replies, I wouldn't do this to a regular friend either, let alone a partner with whom you were supposed to be ride or die. 100%. This is a crap way to treat a friend. But your partner seems that I love yous are shallow. Lemon Deer says, not the asshole. That's an incredibly suspicious move on her part, and a lack of communication and ignoring your texts, leaving the party without even saying goodbye at least. She 100% is doing something with Joe. She wouldn't have left abruptly without you and ignored you the entire night if she wasn't. She's trying to play dumb and clearly has no issues disrespecting you. You made the right decision. OP replies, I'd say I'm 95% sure that something happened with Joe at that after party. I have no evidence, but I know my girlfriend. The way she waved him goodbye, the way she laughed when he talked, the way that she was actively listening to him at the party. Those are mannerisms that she used to have with me. Then there was the thing with Joe's stupid macho power play of putting his hand on my shoulder. It was like he was mocking me because he knew what was going on. And OP comes back with an update and says, about 2 weeks ago, I came here for moral guidance after breaking up with and kicking my girlfriend out for going to an after-party with her male co-worker, who outwardly stated that I was not invited. Just about everyone in the post was convinced that Anne had cheated on me with Joe. The moment she left, I felt as if I had lost interest in her, Joe, and both of their lives forever. But a couple of days later, morbid curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to find his Instagram through Anne's. I don't know if I was looking for closure or validation for refusing to even discuss the issue with Anne, but I found both. First, a few hours after Joe drove Anne back to my place, he made an Instagram post about potentially doing a cover for Scotty Doesn't Know by Lustra. The comments were full of people saying he was going to hell, with laughing crying emojis and the shushing emoji. I recognized some of the commenters as people who had attended the party. At first, I didn't know what it was about, but after looking up the lyrics, it became clear. Here is the first line of the song. Scotty doesn't know that Fiona and me do it in my van every Sunday. So yeah, class act he is. Catchy song though. But it gets better. I know this wasn't healthy, but I kind of kept up with Anne and Joe's social media. They went full mask off. Another few days later, Joe posted a picture of Anne sitting on his lap. I could tell that based on the sofa he was sitting on, this was not even taken at the after party, but at the party that I went to. I must have been talking to someone else or in the bathroom when it was taken. I will say that I was severely depressed, and on a certain level, probably still am. It wasn't even really about Anne, but that literally nobody from the party was willing to give me a heads up. Anne and I were publicly dating, we showed up together, people knew I was her boyfriend. But I guess when my back was turned, they were laughing at me. The only thing that doesn't make sense to me at this point is why she even wanted to keep me around as a partner. When I kicked her out, she was legitimately upset. Was this a pride issue where she wanted to be the one to dump me? Was it the thrill of screwing around with her coworker behind my back? Or was this some logic that only the human equivalent of a dumpster could understand? I may never know, but it doesn't matter anymore. I want to thank everyone who responded to the last post, and I really want to give a special thanks to those who posted or DM'd me with similar experiences. Without exaggeration, I don't know what I'd be doing right now if it weren't for your comments. Anger says, I'd bet $20 that in the near future, the relationship between Joe and Anne will crash and burn. Either Joe gets bored and dumps her, or the other way around. She will cheat on him too. Natural Mountain replies, he will cheat on her. For her, this is all something that is stroking her ego. For him, she's just another conquest to make himself feel in control. Jokester says, her reaction was out of self-interest. With you kicking her out, she had to find someone else to live with. Joe won't want anything more than a no-strings-attached sex. Remember, those were her friends and co-workers, not yours. It shows who she is by the company she keeps. I'm proud of you. You were quick not to accept her disrespect or gaslighting you. Onward and upward. I think there's a lot of ways that could have gone, and a lot of different speculation. I think it's a mixture of self-interest on her part, where she has to go find someone else to live with, and her wanting to be the one to cut it off herself and embarrass OP even more. I think she wasn't expecting him to instantly cut it off and see through her bullshit. I think she was expecting him to roll over and give her the benefit of the doubt until she could spit in his face and laugh at him, and she's only upset that he got to it before she could. But really, I guess unless we hear her side of the story, the truth of the matter could be anything. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think of this one. Let me know down in the comments below. Our next post is by user Greatest Throwman, titled, Am I the asshole for not wanting to walk her down the aisle or lie in a speech? I, 41 male, have 2 kids with my ex-wife, 42 female, a son John, 22, and a daughter Sally, 20. I'm remarried to my wife, 28. I'm very close with my kids. My son is engaged to Abby. She seems nice, but has been a bit pushy trying to create relationships with me and my wife, though she's also awkward with her. Abby isn't close to her family. She told us many stories why, and while some of her complaints don't seem awful, it's not my place to judge, and I didn't live it, so I can't know anyway. We've tried to be welcoming, but Abby has forced her way into some family traditions where she wouldn't have been invited, and some where no one outside of specific family would have. She's been calling Sally sis since they were only dating a few months, has an odd sister/mother-in-law thing that she does with my wife, and the one that I'm not a fan of, wants me to be like a father to her. Not because we've clicked or anything. We are very different people. I'm not saying that in a bad way, just saying that it's not based on how we get along or anything. My kids and I have a tradition when they come over that we have a private catch-up in my office/study before they leave, which is now even more important to them because while they both get along well with my wife, they don't want to have personal conversations around her yet. Abby asked if we could talk, and after I explained the tradition, John later asked that I do it, saying she had never had a caring conversation with her dad. Man, I get where Abby's coming from, but the vibes is so creepy. I don't like this. If I was OP, I'd be like, stop, I don't know you like that, please. We compromised that I didn't include her in the tradition, but do join the two of them for coffee and let her talk. Then she started calling me dad. Oh my god, ew, no. They weren't even engaged yet. John pulled me aside and begged me to give her that. Laid this whole thing on me about me always being the dad that she always wanted right in front of her, and she just wanted that. Told me she cried watching me and Sally together. She still gives me random hugs. I'm a lucky dad. I didn't like it, but I do feel bad, so fine. I gave her that. She wants me to walk her down the aisle and do the father-daughter dance. I don't want to walk her down, and I walk with a cane, so dancing is hard. At my own wedding, I only danced twice. John is begging for me to do one, preferably the aisle. They came over Sunday. John and I were talking. I thought to address it, when Ab walked in without knocking, asking if he had told me yet. I asked what, and John said that she wanted me to say something about having a second daughter now in my speech, and how I loved her. Oh, no! Holding a gun to your head? Say it. Say you love me, Dad. Say how much you love your second daughter, Father. I just looked at him. She asked if I'd do the walk and dance for Sally, and I said of course. She yelled that she's my daughter too, and I said it will never be the same. Sally is my actual daughter. I tried to explain I'd talk about her being a happy addition to the family, and I love how happy she makes Jack, which I thought was a good compromise. But she started crying. John apologized and they left, but he called me when they were home, nearly begging me to. Am I the asshole because I won't lie and say I love her, or she's my daughter? Get this woman $10,000 of therapy instantly. Jesus Christ. She can't just be dumping this on OP. That is so incredibly unhealthy. This is pushing him away more than anything, and it's only going to end badly for those two. And also, OP's son needs to learn some goddamn boundaries with his wife. Every time he doesn't instantly get his way, he starts begging, oh please, Father, please do this for me, it's all I'm ever gonna ask for. And then he does it 5 times more, for more increasingly insane things. Well, you capitulated to the last one, so you should do it for this one, or else we're gonna die. You gotta hit them with an ultimatum in this one. You'd be like, shut the hell up, stop trauma dumping on me, stop guilt tripping me with this bullshit, or I'm out. You can choose to stop or just not have me at all. Those are your options, brothers. Definitely not the asshole OP. I'm uncomfortable. I'm so uncomfortable hearing this story. Fuzzy Mum 2005 says, not the asshole. You have your boundaries. Abby sounds like she's developed this fantasy involving you and your family. That can't be healthy. And yelling at you? You will tell people you love me. You will tell people I'm your second daughter. You will have a good time at my wedding. I can't with these people. OP says, John told me she really wants to be a part of the family, but she started so quickly, I wonder how much is us versus the idea of us. I've been told she immediately was obsessed with my relationship my kids and I have. The yelling, I was more concerned for John than upset, honestly. She seemed not okay right then. Another commenter says, yeah, this doesn't sound like it's about you or Sally as actual people. It's about Abby's fantasy of having a family. It makes me wonder how much she really even knows you or Sally. There's nothing wrong with her wanting a family, but she's going about it wrong. Relationships grow and develop over time. You don't just claim someone as family and have an instant relationship with them. She could definitely benefit from therapy. OP says, she knows Sally a bit now. With me, she learns surface level things and approaches me, but when I try to engage, she immediately acts like we're so close and switches subjects to something related to how much closer we should be. John says that it's nerves, but it doesn't seem like it. Oh hell nah, she crazy. What? So Abby, how's life? I love you. You're my father. You know how close we are? You know how much I love you? Damn, crazy weather today, hey Abby? That's it. We need to perform an exorcism on Abby. It's the only way. She has demons inside of her. Charmed Phoenix says, not the asshole. You have to keep correcting her. She pushed this far with the aisle/speech because you gave them an inch with the dad, etc. You need to put your foot down with your son and her. If this continues, someone in the family will get fed up and might explode on them, and it won't be pretty. What if the confrontation comes at the wedding? This needs to be sorted now before the relationship and interactions continue. Otherwise, you might need to consider lowering the amount of contact you have with your son and his wife. And OP replies, that's partly why I'm upset. I've tried compromising because I want to help my son, but at some point, understanding has to go both ways. I understand she wants family, and I know she's partly jealous because I like my daughter's girlfriend more, but we're in the same field, and she let it happen naturally. I feel like it's all give and no take. OP then comes back with an update and says, Mother's Day, my kids and their partners go to visit my ex-wife. So it turns out my ex-wife and Abby are a lot closer than I realized. She calls her mum, which is part of where this comes from. Also, apparently my ex has been egging it on. On Mother's Day, they were talking about the wedding, and I guess whenever Abby referred to me, it was as dad. My son apparently told her let it go, which led to yelling. Very, very healthy relationship right there. Abby about deserving to be my daughter, ex telling her that she's right, son telling her that I'm trying and she should be realistic about things, Sally telling her that I only had one daughter, which was apparently a response to Abby saying to her that as my daughters, they should be united. According to my son, Abby was crying. According to Sally, she was crying and yelling and kicked something before going to her room. And Sally told me she went off on her mum, but will not elaborate, so I don't know what was actually said. But knowing Sally, ooh boy. Is Sally the only mentally stable one here? Like your son a little bit, yes, but he's not doing enough. Sally's doing the most, and I love Sally here. Around 2 a.m., I got a text from Sally's partner's phone saying, Abby really is great. She hasn't been perfect, but you should give her a chance and you will learn to love her. I saw it when I woke up and I tried to text her back, but was blocked. So I called Sally, but they were driving. They stopped by my place later that day because I'm on the way and my daughter prefers my liquor in cooking, and they told me about the night before. At the end, I asked to speak to her partner alone. I asked if I had done something to upset her. She was confused, and I told her that I was blocked. She said I wasn't, but checked her phone, and I was. And I said that it was after her message, and she asked, what message? I showed her, and it was not on her phone anymore. At that point, we brought in Sally and caught her up, and neither of them were happy. A couple of days later, John and Abby dropped by unannounced. Not something we really do in this family, but okay, fine. I had mad salmon, does not take long to cook. I cook 2 more, wife serves while I make drinks. The entire night was Abby trying to bring up the wedding, John trying to change the subject, Abby not allowing that. We talk logistics because I'm helping them get some good deals through some professional contacts I have, when finally she just says, so I was talking to Mum, and she said that you can walk me down the aisle and she'll do the dance, or you can dance and she'll walk. It's your call, but you need to choose soon. Oh, God. I reiterated that I could not dance. She tried arguing that I had danced a little at my wedding, but I made it clear that that is different, and I didn't feel comfortable walking her. She got upset and said, Mum loves me, why can't you? I felt bad, but couldn't lie. I pointed out that she had John who loved her, my ex-wife, friends. She had other people who love her. She said, but other than ex-wife, those aren't my parents. And I said, neither am I. She was very emotional, so my wife and I gave them a few minutes. My son and I were alone after. He looked exhausted. He said the problem was that after Mother's Day, Abby had called Sally and kept saying that they are both my daughters, that I didn't get to be close with one but not both, and that it was them against me. But at that one, Sally cried havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Things were said, grievances were aired, John had to hang up before it got worse. But I guess Abby was shaken, but there was a new problem. Abby had decided in her head that I did not mean what I had been saying and was just doing it for Sally. He told me that he would handle it. Ron Howard, he did not. So now I get text messages from Abby every couple of days acting like we have a secret relationship that Sally doesn't know about. She even called herself my secret daughter and lolled. She invited my wife to lunch, saying 2 out of his 3 girls are going out. She's even started using the pressure of showing up at events like a recent barbecue to play a certain image. She hugs me more and just holds it. Wants to do pictures with just me or my wife and I, but always a few with just me to post with captions I do not like. My wife is getting especially annoyed because of how she is with her. I guess Abby surprised her with Father's Day plans for me that had to be shut down. As it is, she still inserted herself into the day, but she has a soft spot for her, and when Abby gets emotional, she caves. My wife is a sweetheart. I asked him if he is upset with me, and he said no. He just wished that it was different. He said we're good, but he's worried that he and Sally aren't, which is when I took the advice of some people and suggested premarital counseling. He said he would talk about it. Abby is insisting Sally go to her fitting. That shop should pay-per-view that potential Royal Rumble because Sally is not holding her feelings back anymore. I told him that Sally loves him and I'll talk to her, but for now, it is stressful all around. Abby driving my wife crazy with her ideas for what my girls should be doing, driving me crazy with dad-daughter content, drove Sally to the edge. And oh yeah, last night sent me an email with 3 styles of father-daughter dances and song options. So I'm not feeling any more respected or heard than before. The 6 of us have barely been in the same room in order to let things calm down since Father's Day, which was great until it was a shit show. Sorry that this is so long. With all the craziness, this is still the abridged version. We're supposed to meet on Friday. Sally's partner and I have a bet going about how bad it will go. So, onward and upward. I hope you fathers had a less dramatic day than I did. And by any chances, does anyone know exactly how bad of a crime I need to commit to enter witness protection? Just curious. Instruction Top says, not the asshole, but Abby needs serious mental health help. This is beyond a little needy to downright pathological. What's going to happen when she finally realizes she's not going to get her way? Someone is going to get hurt. Your daughter and her partner need to step back and not engage at all, and you and your wife should attempt to do the same. Tell your son you love him and will do your best to support him, but until Abby gets help, you cannot allow her to be around you and your wife. I wouldn't be surprised if Abby has a history of this type of behavior with others in the past. OP says, I do not know her enough to know about her history, but this does worry me. Especially since my wife and I recently got some good news that has me feeling especially protective of her. My wife has a hard time with the idea of cutting contact since they get together occasionally. I pointed out that she needs to take care of herself, plus Abby has my ex-wife as a mother figure now, so she should be off the hook. Professor Plum did it says, I can't believe your son is dumb enough to still want to marry this walking red flag. At this point, you need to have a talk with your son. Tell him that his fiancée is making you, your wife, and his sister extremely uncomfortable, and that you have serious concerns about her emotional stability because of her inability to accept boundaries and being told no. I would also tell him that if she doesn't back off ASAP, you will make your boundaries physical and not attend events that she's at or invite her to your events. Personally, I'd tell my son that I won't attend the wedding because I can't support him marrying someone so toxic, but that my door is open to help him escape her once he's ready. I know not everyone could or would do that, but I would if it was one of my kids. And witness protection is for witnesses of big crimes, not really those who commit them. You'd be better off just faking your death and running. OP replies, the shame is that we used to sort of like her. My daughter, my wife, and myself. Early on, she was interesting. Diverse interests, she's traveled a lot for her age. She and I even have overlap in musical taste. The problem was, when she decided she wanted this, her personality changed and she started getting pushy, changing subjects to what she wanted if they weren't subjects that she liked. It was like everything was put on hold until we acquiesced, which we haven't, so it's not gone on. You made a good point about witness protection. Plus, I have been meaning to take up location tracker-free boating and scuba diving in sharky waters. Professional Fact says, did you tell your son about the fake message from Sally's partner and the blocking? I don't know that you ever confirmed that Abby did it, but that is another level of crazy from just inserting herself into your life. OP says, I don't think confirmation is possible, but her phone was where Abby would have been able to get it according to Sally. Sally asked to be the one to tell him. This is crazy, but with everything going on, job stuff, great news, family stuff, best news, wedding stuff, I try to watch my drinking. And the family exploding a bit after Father's Day, I honestly forgot to ask her what happened. I have to call her later. It's funny, until you sit down and write everything out, you don't realize how much there is. It just feels like one thing after another. Agoraphobe says, not the asshole. You mentioned in another comment that your wife is pregnant. Be prepared for Abby to go into overdrive, especially if it's another girl. Her level of obsession is very concerning. If you can't convince your wife to step back now, give it another 5 to 6 months when Abby has taken over the baby shower, picked out the nursery, posted the ultrasounds online, insists on being in the delivery room, and gives your wife a full belly grope every 3.8 minutes during visits. Revisit this conversation then. OP says, my daughter said the same thing about the baby coming. Your second paragraph sounds like hell. Thankfully, my wife has a close circle of friends for those things, but I'm sure you're right that Abby will try to insert herself into our pregnancy journey like she did my Father's Day. Double the crazy and give it to someone else. And now for the latest update, OP says, I've gotten requests for updates on my situation. As I enjoy a refreshing mojito and my wife her no-hito, life feels good, and the perfect time to amuse the world with my pain and familial drama. Plus, a cousin of mine who apparently reads these and knows my situation gave me the convincing argument of, dude, you can't keep these people hanging. And how can I argue with that airtight argument? I apologize for how long this is. A lot has happened. So my wife's pregnancy is going well. Keeping her as stress-free and as pampered as possible has been my focus. It is such a different experience this time, both because of how much more involved I can be and how much better a relationship I have with my wife than I had with my ex. My daughter Sally has been great. Even her partner has been great, helping with the nursery or driving her around when I can't. My wife doesn't know because it's a surprise, but my son has been building a crib for the baby, modeled after the one that I built for him and his sister to show my wife's support. My son is a good man, and he is still in there. He just has a soft spot for Abby. Which I guess gets us to the part of the movie where Godzilla shows up and starts busting up buildings. So I called a family meeting with my kids to talk about the situation. I told John his sister was only doing wedding activities that she wanted to, and that the guilting requests needed to stop. That this was hurting his relationship with his sister. Sally was happy I said it, so she didn't have to yet again. I told him that if he didn't stop her from messaging me, I would block her with a bluntly honest explanation of why. We got out a lot, John seemed to understand, but then a few days later, they insisted on coming to talk. Sally and I decided that we would get everything out. So all of us ate at our place. Abby started immediately about the baby shower stuff, and I told her that's the kind of thing we wanted to talk about. I told her that I understood that she's been trying to fill a hole that she has, that she thought that she was getting a father, a second mother, as she calls my ex-wife mum apparently, and a sister. I told her it was still possible, but that she needed to start listening to us. I told her that for the sake of family, we would give her a fresh start. If she agreed that moving forward, she would respect our boundaries. My daughter did not love this idea, but loves her brother and was willing to try. Abby tried to say that since we were starting over, we could define what the relationship would be and just be family. We told her we were not ready for that it needs to happen organically. She got mad that I'm closer with my daughter's partner, which is true, but we just get along, and that she deserved it for trying so hard. My daughter said something about trying things we actually want. She ran to our bathroom. He ran after her. After a while, I checked on him, and I could hear her repeating, "This is not what I wanted." My wife, daughter, and her partner went out to the patio to give them privacy and salvage the night. After a bit, I got a text saying they had just left. I checked in with him the next day, and he said they talked more at home and she understood. For a couple of weeks, things were good. The text stopped except the occasional wedding question, since it was getting closer. She stopped pushing herself on my wife and Sally, and we thought she was involving us less in wedding planning out of respect, since, as it was, they only got the venue at the rate they did because of my professional connections, and they know that I was willing to help, but not interested in helping plan, even if I am good at event planning. But then I got a call from the venue telling me the card I used had been declined. Now, this is a specific card that I use for big purchases because of the miles, so I knew that it had a high limit. That was how I learned that they had changed dates by 2 months, despite being informed I would still be out much of the money because it was too close to the date. I was furious. I mean, I have been lucky in life financially, but I'm not blow-off deposits like nothing wealthy. I called my son and said he needed to get his ass to the house, just him. But they both came. When they arrived, I opened the door, and she actually started with, "Dad!" I think I replied, "You've got to be effing kidding me," and walked toward the table. Abby had the nerve to ask where dinner was. My response was not polite, as I made it clear that that was not why they were here. I hoped my son would not lie to me, so I asked what was going on with the venue. She started going into wedding details, but my son interrupted to tell me that they postponed because my ex-wife was unavailable because of a surgery, and he had not told me because he was putting money together to pay me the lost money himself, and he had only just reached out to guests to let them know. And that is when Abby's mouth opened. "We have extra time to work on our dance." Now, during this time, my wife came home, and I was walking her toward the bedroom when Abby said that. My pregnant wife with me, I said, calmly, "I have different feelings about that, and will elaborate further shortly," or something like that. Then I laid my wife down and got her water, turned on her symphonic covers of popular songs, and walked back to the table and said something like, "You are out of your effing mind. Have you even been listening?" I made it clear that I was done with this nonsense. We all were. And kind of lost it asking she did not hear us last time because her head was so far up her ass. She was stunned silent. Oh God, what a beautiful sound that was. And looked at me while I, admittedly with a little filter, explained what Sally and I thought of our time with her and her attempts to force us to love her without even getting to know us. She started crying and stood up and shouted, "Then what was this even for?" John asked what she meant, if she meant them, and he started to freak out. She was frantic and said she meant delaying the wedding, because, and I'm pouring out another drink to write this, it was a ploy. My ex-wife and her decided that if I had more time, I would come around. Apparently my ex had told her not to worry about the money because I am loaded. She's always been bitter that I make so much more than I did when we were married, as if that is out of spite rather than my career arc. I think she did that on purpose, frankly. But she not only told me that lie, she and my ex told John as well. He was distraught, repeating, "You lied to me," as she tried to spin it, but he was letting it out about how much he has defended her and covered for her, and she lied to him too. She was defensive and blamed my ex for telling her things and me for being stubborn. She yelled, "Why can't I just effing call him Dad?" And finally, after so long, I heard John respond, "Because he is not your effing dad." She started crying and saying something about him being the one that told her that she could call me that, and he said he told her she might be able to eventually, but he had told her again and again to slow down. She started sobbing and went to sit on her chair, but missed and fell on the floor. Appreciating physical humor to break the tension, I admittedly chuckled and hid my mouth behind my drink. This all led to a lot of sobbing. I said that I needed to check on my wife, and as I was walking out, she was repeating, "I just want him to be my dad too." I came out and he was walking her to the door and apologized. I said not to, and they left. He came over a few days later and said they had a long talk at home. He even asked her if she would have dated him if there was never a chance of being in the family. He believed her when she said yes, but she admitted that I was a big draw as well. I was the kind of dad that she always wanted. My relationship with Sally is what she always wanted, and the way that she said it gave John doubts that she loves him for him. I talked about marriage counseling, how his mother and I tried it, and while it didn't save us, it provided clarity and an impartial voice. I pointed out they both like coming to me, but I cannot be impartial, and if they are trying, then they need to do it for real. Abby texted asking if I was the one who suggested therapy. I responded with, "Does it matter if John wants to?" She asked why it's so bad she wants to know what I think, and I just said John is the man whose opinion should matter most to her. They fought due to the text, she agreed to the counseling, and the wedding has been postponed. I may have done a dance. So they are in counseling. He said she struggles, but I obviously do not know details. She is pressuring for me and Sally to go to a session with her. Sally told her she did not want to hear Sally unfiltered, and I am not interested. Abby has been leaving Sally alone. She stopped texting me except for the occasional general question, which includes some attempt to go deeper. My wife still occasionally spends time with her because she is very into her pregnancy, more so than I like, but it is my wife's call. So that's where we are. Sorry it was so long, but alcohol makes for a poor editor. OP on how Abby is going to deal with the credit card that she ran up says, "We've already talked payment plan. John insists that he is not helping her, and I believe that it's mostly her, but him kicking in a little. Also, I'm making them scale back. She was unhappy, but John actually told her she could not complain when she tried." OP on his ex-wife causing lots of turmoil and using Abby to get to him says, "I did not mention it because it already felt like I was writing a novel, but she has had big consequences with my son, who is furious with her, and my daughter, who apparently unloaded on her before mostly cutting her off. It's an entire update length in itself. My daughter pushed my ex-wife's face into a dessert. That's my girl." A commenter asks, "What's it going to take before your son wakes up and realizes that this is not the person he wants to spend the rest of his life with? She sounds unhinged, not the asshole." OP says, "He seems to at least be looking at her more honestly now. I'm hoping counseling helps him get there." Actually, OP, the toxin in this whole mix is your effing ex-wife. She is twisted and screwed with this girl from day one. I bet a bunch that but for the influence of that bitch, all of you could have evolved into a nice family dynamic. Unfortunately, the see you next Tuesday that you divorced has not changed. Your son and daughter should shut her the hell down. She saw that poor girl's insensitivities and has exploited her. Send the venue tab to her attention. Wanton bitch. OP says, "After seeing the suggestion on here, I texted him about 40 minutes ago that he should bill his mom. This is truly awful. She tried alienation when we split, but has not done anything to this extent. John said in therapy that they are discussing her influence, though understandably, he did not get into more detail than that. My son is furious with his mom. I think he sees her more like Sally does now." And the final commenter says, "Your wife is not helping this situation by letting her be a part of this pregnancy. She is leeching off that and will use that to be a part of the family. I have no doubt that she will see the child as a sibling and through that loophole, see you as her dad. Sorry, but your wife is an idiot right now. Hope your son soon wakes up and leaves her crazy ass." And OP says, "I agree that my wife should have cut her off at least during the pregnancy. She has at least started inviting a friend to go along, so they're usually not alone. That alone sometimes gets Abby to cancel. The sister thing is a concern that I have as well." Might be a while on another update from OP, but definitely a very interesting saga so far. I just want more details. I want to know everything going on here because I don't think that Abby and the son are gonna stick together after all of this. And if they do stick together, I see them being outcast by the family to live with that vile witch of an ex-wife. Oh my god, she is toxic. This is a great story. Please keep it coming, OP. I love to see it. But what do you guys think of this one so far? Let me know in the comments down below. I hate my daughter. So I know this will make me seem bad and all, but above all, I really just need a place to vent. I can't talk about it with my friends or family, nor do I really want to. I'm 27, and I've had a friends with benefits situation with a guy that I went to college with. Let's call him Mark. We were both young and not ready for a relationship, and then I got pregnant. I told Mark about it since I wanted to discuss our options: abortion, adoption, or even giving him custody if he wanted to. I never wanted kids, so I'd be fine with any compromise. However, Mark didn't take it well. I remember him insisting that we could make it work, especially since we were both in our last year of college. He wanted to get married and for us to be a family, but I refused. And then he got his family involved. They called and texted me all the time, even showing up at my part-time job. I know I have no one to blame but myself, but I gave up. I had too many things going on at that time, like the loss of my mother, the stress with the rest of the family, and some stuff going on with my best friend that I won't get into. I remember feeling horrible, but I relented and agreed to keep the baby, although I still refused to get married to Mark. Now we have a 5-year-old daughter together. I'm a mess. I never wanted kids, and although I'm trying, I can't feel any motherly love for her. What makes it worse is that she's genuinely a good kid. She doesn't throw many tantrums, she's always kind, and she doesn't expect much. I feel guilty for hating her. I feel bad all the time. I only get to have her on the weekends, and Mark has her every other day. But that doesn't make me feel better. She talks about wanting to see me and her dad together, but I just can't. I screamed at her once when she drew a little picture of me and Mark holding hands. I apologized after, but I still felt so guilty. I don't know what I'm doing. I just needed to write down everything and get it off my chest. I know I'm a bad mother, I know it, but I don't know how to be better. I don't even know if I want to be better. I just want to give up my parental rights, but even the thought makes me feel even worse. I'm stuck in a hell of my own making. I know I should have fought harder and probably just aborted her, but damn me for being weak, I guess. In the comments, Pretty Princess 014 says, "She's trying to be extra good so that you can like her. I used to do that with my mom all the time until one day I made it up in my head that I was done with it." Yeah, that part of her story made me so sad for her daughter. That poor kid knows her mom doesn't want her and is doing everything she can to appease her. OP doesn't realize, but she already made a little codependent people pleaser. She better leave soon while she has time to forget the time before. She'll definitely remember and be really deeply affected by it, unfortunately. But it may be better for her in the long run. She should really discuss it with the ex and give him time to come up with a plan to make it easier on the kid. I don't know. I have an 8-year-old daughter myself, and her dad and I split up when she was 4. She recently told me she doesn't remember anything from our life before, so there's a chance. Our primary attachments in those formative years create a blueprint for forming relationships in the future. Kids will likely not remember the memories, but their brains and bodies remember the emotions deeply. It's a lot harder to fix problems when we can't remember why they are there in the first place. It's similar with abuse. I work with kids that have experienced a lot, and many of them can't remember what happened to them due to their age when it occurred, or cannot remember their families at all, but the effects of what happened are so evident in all of their behavior, attachments, thinking, and mental health. Not to say that this is the case with your daughter at all, but generally speaking, not being able to remember does not mean the impact goes away. It just finds other ways out and is harder to process and heal from. Another commenter says, "Giving up might make you feel worse, but when your daughter is old enough to realize that her mother doesn't want her, it'll affect the rest of her life. This is your screw-up, not hers. Just bail now and live with it. The alternative is far worse." Believe me, she already knows her mom doesn't want her. I speak from experience. My mother didn't want or like me from the get-go, and no matter how much she pretended to be a loving mother, she could never hide it. I felt it from a very young age, way before I could put it into words. She needs to give up her rights ASAP before even more damage is done. 100% agree. Same. I'm in my 50s, and it still affects me. Someone needs to love and nurture your daughter. It is soul-crushing. If he's a good father and loves her, then maybe you should give up your rights and go live your life. Your emotions are getting through, and she'll never understand why you don't like her. It might be better to let her go. She deserves love 24/7, not just on weekdays. And if you're screaming at her, you aren't hiding your dislike of her being around. As much as I don't want to say abandon your child, maybe you do need to, if you love her, let her go. And I don't know, do you even love her? If you don't love her, let her go? It's genuinely heartbreaking to hear that you were neglecting your daughter and you seemingly were baby-trapped by this guy. I can empathize with the situation that it's 5 years down the track, but how at any point did you not just stick with your original plan and just relinquish full custody to him? Is this a situation where you need permission and advice from people on the internet to be like, this is the right thing, give him full parental custody so that she has a loving home and so that you can live your life without the emotional burden that you're putting on your daughter? I don't think you're an asshole, particularly in this situation, but I think what you're putting your daughter through is unfair. And now, onto the update. Some things have happened, and I need to write them down, and maybe even get some insights. I'll call my daughter Abby for the sake of this post. I ended up telling Mark about my desire to change the custody arrangement, and maybe even removing my parental rights. Many people here agreed that it's the best choice, both for me and for Abby. He didn't take it well, and actually texted me about it through the week. He insisted that we could work out whatever was bothering me. We agreed a while ago that texting is okay, but calls are for emergencies only. So when he called me on Friday evening and pleaded with me to come see Abby, I agreed. This is what I really need to talk about. I've seen Abby cry before, but this was something else. She had a complete meltdown, screaming and crying once I got there. She just clung to my leg and screamed at me not to leave her. Why did I want to leave her? What did she do wrong? I cried. I was honestly horrified with how badly she reacted. Mark's mum ended up telling Abby that I was planning on leaving her and that she's not going to go to my house this weekend. I'm sorry, OP, but these people are evil. That is such an evil thing to say to that child. I feel like you were trying to do the merciful thing here, but Jesus Christ, these people suck ass. I had to take Abby to my place sooner than expected, and Mark actually spent the night over as well. He said he's too concerned with Abby and with me to leave us alone. Okay, Mark, you absolute parasite, screw you. I'm completely lost. Even with the way I said that I want to give up my parental rights, I just can't do it now. The image of Abby crying and pleading with me not to leave is just stuck in my mind. I feel hopeless about the entire situation. Currently, I'm laying with Abby on the couch and she's watching TV. She hasn't really left my side since yesterday. I'm used to her pointing at the TV while talking about her favorite characters of whatever cartoon is on. Right now, she's just laying by my side and staying quiet. I can hear Mark moving around in the kitchen. He called in sick to work, and he's staying here for the weekend. I have no idea what to do, and I'm sorry, but I no longer want to leave Abby. That is not an option anymore. Edit. I'd just like to edit and ask for some suggestions about online therapy. What sites do I look for that I'm sure will help me and don't cost too much? Mark is already looking into therapists for Abby in the area, but I'd like to ask for some individual therapy I could attend online. Maybe even suggestions for child therapists online, in case Mark doesn't find anyone? In the comments, FishRed says, gently, OP, and with sympathy for the conflicting tangle of emotions you find yourself in, I think you need to stop posting about this on Reddit, and I think you need to talk to a professional ASAP. You might get good advice on Reddit, but you're bound to get shitty advice too, and it's not going to be easy to discern the difference. I don't see what bearing the slings and arrows on a thread like this is really going to do for you, or more importantly, for Abby. The only advice that you can really be sure of is, there are professionals that will have much more wisdom and insight into this than your average Redditor. There are professionals who will be able to get you in touch with the emotions and knowledge and the information that you need to get in touch with in order to process this situation much more effectively than a Reddit thread ever will. Please, get genuine help, OP. I'm so glad the top comment on this is, get professional help. This woman does not need to be getting any other kind of advice from Reddit. Therapy for her, for the child, and for Mark while we're at it. This whole thing is a mess, and a child doesn't need to be the one to carry that. As a survivor of criminal child neglect, it's better to just give up the child. Disdain, indifference, and eventual hatred cannot be addressed in a way that a lot of Redditors seem to think. You cannot therapy someone into loving a child. You cannot plead, beg, convince, etc. I had a lot of co-eds in my orphanage. Disdain for own's child is not uncommon. A lot of us agreed that it would be better if we were physically abused rather than just ignored and neglected, because at least the physical abuse makes sense. You get hit for doing bad things. But neglect, particularly emotional neglect, is quite incomprehensible for a child. Like, what do you mean my existence makes you so uncomfortable that you cannot bear to look at me? Yes, either way, a child is left with trauma and issues. But why make the child suffer through witnessing and experiencing emotional neglect and abuse? It's not some kind of moral high ground. The mother does not get cookie points for keeping a child that she actively rejects in all ways. The child isn't getting any cookie points from being around a mother like that either. Sometimes it's better to euthanize the relationship before it poisons everything completely. Yes, even a familial one. I'm not qualified to make any kind of comments on the rest of the post. However, Mark's mum is a complete evil witch. Who the hell does that to their granddaughter that they supposedly love? Plus, you know what? No, I'm gonna say something about this too. I feel sorry for OP because she was effing coerced when she was pregnant. That's what that's called. Reproductive coercion. She needs so much therapy, the kid needs therapy, Mark needs therapy, and they all need to stay the hell away from this horrible piece of shit mother. OP seems like the victim of a somewhat successful, somewhat failed baby trapping. Mark and family are even having the daughter ask for them to get together. Grandma caused the child to have a meltdown to keep OP around. I wonder how accidental the pregnancy actually was. No, I think that after 5 years and with a mother like that, if Mark isn't able to realize just how messed up in the head she was, Mark is in cahoots with her. I'm disgusted by the whole situation as it is, but, I feel like OP is kind of trapped here. That kid is doomed no matter what happens here. That grandmother signed and sealed that kid being emotionally devastated probably for the rest of their life. And as said before, you can't therapy your way out of that. This is such a grim story. What a terrible day to have a brain. I hate that entire family for putting this kid through that. And yeah, OP just has to go get professional help at this point because how do you deal with this situation? It makes me physically hurt. Thank God I don't have kids. And thank God I don't have kids with someone with a piece of shit family like that. That's for sure. Thank you for sharing your story with us, OP. And I really do hope that you get professional help and deal with that absolute enormous garbage fire.